With Alex and T-Bone on BK, you got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. I was told right before we went to air, all right, we're going live. We had something coming back, and then we no longer had anything coming back. Do we have any ability to play audio today, T-Bone?
Oh, we will. Just
we will.
Jackson's
Rock
been
you.
pushing buttons over here.
Well,
all right.
I'd say we're ready to set sail, right, guys?
So yesterday, the Cardinals play 6 innings of baseball. They do not complete the full game because, weather happened here in St. Louis. Felt great outside, though, Alex. Looked great.
Honestly, it's the kind of weather I always hope for.
Really?
Yeah, that's the weather last night is what I love.
I loved the feeling.
I'm making fun of you, damn it! Come on, man! I'm making fun of you.
I'm not kidding at all. I thought it was fantastic weather after the rain came through. Unfortunately, they don't finish the game. Cardinals are tied at 1 through 6 innings. Lance Lynn yesterday, after we gave him all the crap, 6 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, does a really great job. His only run that he allowed was unearned in that game yesterday against the Baltimore Orioles. Looked great, honestly. Unfortunately for him, you've got a guy behind him in Nolan Gorman that can't make a play defensively, but otherwise he pitched really well. Alex, in the first 6 innings, what was your biggest takeaway? We'll talk about what you do the rest of it coming up here in just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was Lance Lynn, especially after we discussed the situation where it felt like you were 5 and dive and you were putting yourself kind of in a roll the dice situation, and he went out there and he pitched to perform. He shut down the Orioles, never even put his team in a position where they had to worry about runners in scoring position, with the exception of that misplay by Nolan Gorman. But other than that, it was Lance Lynn. Offensively, you kind of expected that. Bradish is somebody that does not give up a whole lot of power to the opposition. So I expected that one to be another low-scoring game, and I was pleasantly surprised by how Lance Lynn competed in that one. And frankly, the way he competed, even with the rain, was a good situation for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I was impressed by what Lance Lynn looked like yesterday on the mound. And then you got Gorman coming through with the double, which was nice to see him come through. Noopar getting ejected in the first inning is a bit of a... I am not a fan of that.
It can't happen.
The sun's going to be big. Rain's coming. We got to get this game going. We know that. We know that going into it.
Too.
But Lynn looked impressive. And look, I went to the game. I sat through the long freaking rain delay. And I also was not looking forward to seeing Lance Lynn pitch. But he was very good last night on the mound. So credit where it is due. He's the reason they're able to get through to get to the point where they are. And if it's not for that Gorman hair, they're up 1-0 starting this game back up today.
All right, so let's talk about it. How do you handle this? Because coming up in the next inning, I guess technically the 7th inning that you're going to be playing here, you've got the middle of your order that's going to be coming to the plate. Then you got to figure out what you're going to do bullpen-wise, 7, 8, 9. They will have Mountcastle, Mullins, and Stowers. Or no, Cowser, Mountcastle, and Mullins coming up to the plate. So you got left, right, left. So that's going to be coming up. My guess is the Cardinals will go with a lefty there. If you don't score in this first inning, you probably go John King, I guess? Or do you get aggressive the way that Ollie has at times this year? Because you're 6 innings into this thing, Alex. Do you consider going to JoJo Romero there? Although he's been used a lot, he's been your best option. He's been used 3 of the last 5 days. Do you consider going to JoJo Romero and just trying to keep it at a 1-1 score?
You go to JoJo Romero, his arm might fall off sooner or later. But yeah, I would throw my best pitchers in the rest of this game because you have to win this game. And I know you want to be cautious a little bit with it because you're going to have to use your bullpen later on in the second game. I don't really care about that second game, which probably is the Ollie Marmol mindset. When it's an opportunity to sweep, you don't care about it as much. I'm using my best pitchers out of the bullpen for the remainder of this game because I got to win this one. If I win this one, I win another series. And to me, that is the most important opportunity in front of Ollie Marmol today. So yeah, I go to JoJo. I go to JoJo. I go to Helsley. I go to my big pitchers in this game, and then I'll figure out what I got to stick together to make game number 3 work.
Yeah, if they don't score, because the Cardinals will be coming up, I think, to start this, if I remember correctly, in the bottom of the 6th, then if the Cardinals score, I'm with you. I would go JoJo, and I would try and just lock this game down, guarantee that you at minimum take 2 of 3. But I think if you don't score, to me, you got to play a little bit more conservatively. I think then you go to John King to start that inning because I don't want to burn our top arms, JoJo, Kittredge, Helsley potentially in this game that they're finishing, and then not have them be available for game 2 if you lose this one, and then all of a sudden you have your back against the wall and could be able to drop 2 of 3. So I would go a little bit more conservative if they don't score. I think I would go to John King in that situation. There is.
And you might lose that.
If you end up going to John King there and they've got Mountcastle, he very well may hit a homer off of him. John King is not as good as JoJo Romero. You're putting your worst lefty out there, and Mountcastle is one of the better hitters in Major League Baseball against left-handed pitching. I want to go, if I'm going to lose this game, I want to do it with my best guys going down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't trust my team to come back in any situation just because of how inconsistent their offense has been. But I would trust my team to come back in a game more so in a 9-inning outing rather than them coming from behind, even if it is one run through 3 innings today if you give up that 1 run with John King. I think
I'm going JoJo. I think I'm starting this game with JoJo Romero. I just trust him more.
You can't.
Honestly, so question for you, Alex. Would you consider Kittredge? And the reason I ask this is because Kittredge has been used in his past as an opener. So this would not be foreign to him in terms of the getting prepared for the game part of it, the warm-up, everything. It would be something that he has done in his history with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, you got lefties coming up, so it's not probably the best spot for him, quote-unquote. But in terms of him preparing for the game, this would not be foreign to him the way that it would be for the vast majority of the other Cardinals options that are coming out of the bullpen today. Is that something that would enter your mind at all?
Maybe, but I would go JoJo first. I would have to have a discussion with JoJo to make sure his arm is still attached after how much they've used him. But I would go to him, and if he feels like he can get me 3 outs, I'm using him in that situation. You can't afford to play conservative in this game because if you play conservative now, you might still lose, and then you're going to be really barking up a tree that I don't know if you have the opportunity to win that series still.
It is interesting because now that you say that, and the more I think about it, I would almost feel more comfortable with a guy that has done the opener experience then.
Because you got left, right, left. If you get out of this thing in 3 outs, you got left, right, left coming up in the next inning as well with the bottom of the order coming up. And I think Kittredge is a better pitcher than JoJo Romero right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There isn't really a matchup that I currently fear with Kittredge. You know, they're going to have a couple lefties coming up, that doesn't really bother me. I feel comfortable with Kittredge stuff that he's going to be able to do it. And because it is a opener type environment today when they resume this game, I think it actually does make more sense to go with him. And then you can kind of have JoJo in his normal role or John King, whoever you end up going to, depending on what the score is. But I think with you bringing that up with that opener experience, yeah, probably would make sense for him to be the guy to start this game when they get a chance to pitch in the top of the 7th.
I didn't know this. I hadn't seen what lefties had done so far against Kittredge. I'm a little surprised by this. They're batting .305 against Andrew Kittredge so far this year. Righties are batting .140 against him.
I don't think I would go to them.
So
it's a fluke.
.305 with a .465 slugging percentage is the slash line against Andrew Kittredge so far this year. I mean, it's going to be tough. Like you got really good hitters coming up. No matter when you decide to go to who you decide to go to, I think a lot of it comes down to, hey, is JoJo good? Like, is he all right? Is that arm working?
That's what
still?
you need to make sure first.
If he's okay, then you're going to use him and Andrew Kittredge in some combination over the next 2 innings, most likely. If he's not, you're probably going to use John King and Andrew Kittredge at some point in the next 2 innings. And you got to decide how you want to deploy him. I think I would probably go Kittredge in the first inning that you pitch in the 7th, and then get yourself to John King afterwards, because John King, theoretically speaking, would see the 8 and 9 hitters in a best case scenario, and I would prefer him to go there, and then you just take a shot with him against Gunnar Henderson. It ain't gonna feel good, I promise you. It's not gonna feel good, but that's the way that you're gonna have to operate there. Cardinals back in action a little bit later on this afternoon, coming up here in a couple of minutes, I guess, at this point. So Cardinals, game 2 of the series will continue in just a little bit, and then later on this afternoon they will play game 3 of the series. They continue this in the bottom of the 6th inning, and then the Cardinals will pitch for the first time in the top of the 7th.
Let's have 2 lineup games today. Let's do the lineup game right now, which I guarantee I will hit 100%.
If you did it, I would have some follow-up questions.
And then let's do the lineup game again later.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We will do one lineup game, though, later on today. He's Alex Ferrario. That is Tanner Hendrickson, and I'm Brandon Kiley. You guys can get involved in the show, as always, at 314-399-9646. The YouTube chat is off and running on the Graveyard, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. Coming up next, Tom Stillman was in studio with the morning show earlier today. Had some interesting comments on the impact that the TV money will have on the Blues spending over the next few years. I think fans should hear this. We'll let you hear it next here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone on BK, got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So Tom Stillman was in studio with the morning show earlier today, Alex, and he had some interesting comments on a number of scenarios. One, Pavel Buchnevich's future. We'll get into that a little bit later on today. But he was also asked about the TV deal and the uncertain future of what that means for the St. Louis Blues. Bally, of course, going through bankruptcy court right now. People don't really know exactly what's going to happen. Is this going to be something where they emerge from bankruptcy and they're around for the next year or two and then go under again? Will they be around for the long haul? Is Amazon going to be able to bail them out? We're not sure. And so they asked him, how will that impact the cap flexibility for the Blues in future seasons, their willingness to spend to the cap? I thought this was a really good answer and one that every fan needs to hear.
I don't think that will have any significant effect. And one reason for that is that there's uncertainty in exactly what it will be in the next couple of years. But we and the league are pretty confident that over 2 or 3 years from now, we'll be on something, could become completely different. We could be on a national platform. We could be on, our own streaming. But it'll get resolved, and we see this as a short-term, issue. I mean, not 3 months, 2 years, something like that, where 2-3 years where we're going to take a financial hit, but we can't let that affect, whether we're going to be competitive 2, 3, 4 years from now. So we will be taking, we'll be making the moves, on players that we have to make, and if that's a little tougher for us now, we'll accept that because we've got to have ourselves in position years going forward.
Dude, that is exactly what you got to want to hear from your owner. Exactly what you want to hear. It is the opposite of what you heard from the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way.
What?
The Cardinals were asked about this at winter warm-up and basically said, yeah, man, things are looking a little uncertain out there. We don't know what the future's going to hold.
Didn't we get a classic, I think it was from BD3 where it was, yeah, look, it's tough on us now. You should be thankful that we're spending money on the team.
He also chuckled at the beginning of it, too, a sarcastic BK tone
No,
type
that was
of chuckle.
different. That was the most recent question that he was asked about
They
fans
all
not
blend
going
together.
to
They all
games.
go together,
That was
man.
different. What I'm referencing is what he had to say at winter warm-up when asked about if the uncertain future of Bally will impact the Cardinals' ability to spend in future seasons. And he said it doesn't right now, but it could in the future depending on what that looks like. I love that answer from Tom Stillman because he's essentially saying there, yeah, we're going to take that on. If we get less money via our TV deal, we're going to have to take on more of a, more of that financial burden ourselves, and that'll be on us. And in future years, this is what it is to be an owner. We're going to get that back because that's what it is. Owning a professional sports team is a pretty damn good business model, man. I know that everybody cries poor and they tell you like there's no way to make money off of these businesses. If there was no way to make money off of them, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there probably wouldn't be people that are lining up at the door to get their opportunity to own one of those respected businesses. That being said, when you heard this from Tom Stillman earlier today, Alex, what came to your mind as a fan of the Blues, as somebody that wants to see this team get back to having success? When you hear that from your owner, what does it tell you?
Excitement. It tells me that my owner is willing to withstand whatever storm that the organization will go through financially with this massive financial uncertainty. And he's basically telling you we're going to stay competitive, which a lot of teams, specifically in the NHL, that are smaller markets like the Blues, they're going to cry poor with it. They're going to say, well, we can't spend to the cap because of the money that we're losing without this television deal. Like, I'm thinking of teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets, teams like the Arizona Coyotes, now in Utah. Like, those types of teams, they'll go into another rebuild because of the television financial situations. And what Tom Stillman just told you is our ownership group will continue to support the Blues no matter what. Maybe we won't be a cap team, but we're going to spend damn close to it. And if we feel like our team is ready to compete in 2 years and this is still not solved, or we don't have Bally Sports Midwest, we're still going to spend to put a competitive team on the ice, which as a fan, one, you respect the honesty. Two, you respect a commitment from that ownership group, because there are a lot of teams that will look at their fans, i.e. the Cincinnati Reds or even Bill DeWitt III, and say, yeah, this will probably go in a different direction, and you'll just have to survive through it with us.
Yeah, I loved hearing this because it told me that, let's say next year, and I think they're going to get worse before they get better, but let's say they're one of those teams like Vancouver where it becomes a surprise and they're a playoff team and they feel like, whoa, this accelerated. Look how ready Bolduc and Dvorsky were to take on roles, and we add in a Jimmy Snuggerud. That they're not just going to sit on their hands because the TV situation and say, well, we can't really, we're kind of hamstrung with what we're doing. No, I think what Stillman just said there was the moment we're ready to exit out of this retool or whatever you want to call it, we'll get back up to the cap. That may not mean we're going to be there next year, but when we are ready to compete again, whether the TV deal is settled or not, we're going to be willing as an ownership group to take that on because we want to throw out a competitive product. And that's all you can ask for from a fan base, is to hear your ownership group be honest, like you just said, and say, hey, we want to go for it. Not only was that comment a, hey, we're willing to spend, it was, we want to go for it. It's not this, we're okay, we own a team. We don't really care what exactly happens. Tom Stillman sounds like an owner that wants to win, and I think that's the most important part.
Somebody said on the text line from the 314, guys, there's a big difference between the cost of a superstar in baseball versus the cost of a superstar in hockey. Absolutely. There's also a big difference in the revenues. Yeah. And the marginal expense is pretty similar. Like, if you're going to go out in the NHL and pay a superstar, what's the cap right now? $85 million bucks?
Yeah, I think it's going up to 85.
You're spending like 11, 12 million bucks a year, roughly, so somewhere in that range, right? So you're talking about, what is that, 13%, 14%, somewhere around that range of what the overall cap is. Think about what the Cardinals are spending. Most teams in their range, around that 10th best payroll in baseball, around $200 million what they're spending, right? The equivalent would be something like $25, $30 million a year in terms of expenses for a superstar in Major League Baseball towards their payroll. Well, it's the same. It's the same expense. It's just a matter of how much are you bringing in as a league. And so, like, that's why I think it's just really difficult for me to say, well, when you look over here, no. The Cardinals say one thing, the Blues say another. And it is the latest in a long line of examples of this, guys. Like, this isn't new. The Cardinals will tell you that their plan is X, Y, or Z, but it doesn't really actually tell you anything about their plan. And you feel more confused when you hear about it. Meanwhile, the Blues, they're not perfect. Not all of their moves, in my opinion, have been the correct ones. We all disagreed with letting Alex Pietrangelo walk. I thought it was silly to let Pat Maroon walk when they did. It's cost nothing. He's a good player. You've been looking for Pat Maroon since you let Pat Maroon walk. David Perron didn't agree with it. Thought they should have brought him back. But they tell you what they're trying to accomplish. This offseason, they have been very honest about what stage of their life cycle they're in right now as an organization. And Tom Stillman continued to reiterate earlier today on the morning show that they're not going to be super active this offseason. But if something presents itself, yeah, we'll go ahead and make that move.
I don't expect a big, a lot of big splashy transactions. You never know what could happen and what could come up. But, we are continuing to work this plan of internal growth, continue to draft and develop players. We don't want to add, some older player who's, a hot free agent, because when it comes time for us to be a contender, he's not going to be there anymore. Now, if there were younger players out there that fit our age group and core, I suppose that's possible. But, we have a lot of the basic blocking and tackling. The draft combine is in the next few days, and we've got the draft. We've got, the free agency, which frees up a lot of other things happen around then. But again, we don't expect a big splash, but we expect to continue, working our plan.
Well, and that's nothing new. You're not going out there and spending money on these free agents, and we've talked a lot about it. Like, there's nothing in this free agent market that I feel like is exciting if you're Tom Stillman. And this is the part of it that kind of coincides with what we just discussed. Like, you're getting the upfront and honesty about what this offseason is going to look like. Now, of course, some might take what he said and say, well, cool, well, they're not going to do anything this offseason. I don't think that's what Tom Stillman's saying. I think he's saying we're not going into the free agent market, but if something presents itself to Doug, we will make a move, because that is going to coincide with the roster that we have in place. I I look at the blueprint that Tom Stillman and Doug Armstrong has put in front of this right now, and this feels like the start of the offseason, the start of the retool, where you start adding complementary pieces to what you feel is the blueprint of a successful retool. And that means making trades if something's out there, and it means staying out of the free agent market, not spending pointless money on players that aren't going to set you further in the direction that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think he told you everything that they're going to do. They're not going to be in on guys that are 29 plus.
Yeah.
They're just not. It's not going to be something that they're interested in, because I think you heard there. He said, yeah, when we're good again, that guy's going to be 32, 33. I think he's telling you the timeline. He thinks they're not going to be legitimate contenders for another 2 to 3 years. And Alex, I think we should use this to our benefit. When we talk about this team, we've got to think about becoming championship contenders 2 to 3 years down the road. 2027, 2028. That's when we're really talking about contention for the St. Louis Blues. So realistically, is this team going to be interested in David Perron? Probably not. Like, we can want them to go down that path all we want to. It's not going to happen. That's not somebody that they're likely to go out there and acquire. But if you find somebody that's 25, 26, maybe 27 years old and they become available via trade, yeah, that's the kind of moves that make sense for the St. Louis Blues. If the Cardinals decided this offseason, for example, good or not, but let's take a flyer on it. That's the kind of thing that I expect the Blues to do this offseason.
You're in a position to where you've set the parameters of the 2 to 3 years to be in that competitive window. Can that go longer? They don't expect it to, as long as these players develop. Can it go faster? I think so. But the way it moves faster is if you make the type of trade to bring in the player. If the opportunity presents itself to where a 26-year-old forward or a 27-year-old defenseman is available this offseason, that's how you can expedite it. And I think that's what he's setting fans up to expect. Don't expect a lot unless something falls into our lap.
He's Alex T-Bone on BK. 314-399-9646 is text line to get involved in the show. Want to talk about what just happened in the Cardinals game here in a moment. And velo matters, but there are plenty of starters that are having success without it. Why is that happening this year? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK for my friends over at Victory Men's Health. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion today. Did you wake up today? You don't have the same amount of vitality that you did previously. You don't have that same exuberance. You're just not feeling right when you wake up in the morning. Well, they might be able to help you out with that over at Victory Men's Health. When you walk through the door over there, you're going to be shocked because it's not like those other low testosterone places that you might have tried in the past. You walk in those places, it's grimy, it's dimly lit, it looks like a hospital room. Over at Victory Men's Health, it's a comfortable experience. You walk through the door, they got leather couches in there. It's beautiful state-of-the-art location. You can't ask for anything more. Whether it is low testosterone, you want to get help with some weight loss goals that you haven't been able to do on your own, they can do that for you, help you out over at Victory Men's Health. They'll take you in the first consultation. They're going to be able to take a full lab draw kit and find out exactly what's going on with your micronutrient levels. So check them out today. 4 great locations across the St. Louis area and victorymenshealth.com.
Terrors here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals are currently leading the Baltimore Orioles 3-1 in the bottom of the seventh inning as they are resuming last night's rain-delayed game. And after this one concludes, 30 minutes after that, Kyle Gibson will take the mound for St. Louis as they wrap up their series with the Baltimore Orioles. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, we've got the Stanley Cup playoffs for you. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the New York Rangers and Florida Panthers. Well, pregame coverage starting at 6:30. The Sports Update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Cardinals up 3-1, bottom of the seventh inning. They got one out in that one. Michael Ciani up to the plate right now. How did it happen, Alex? Well, Ivan Herrera takes a walk, and Nolan Gorman with a long one, a home run for the Cardinals to put them up 3-1 early in today's action, late in the game, but early in the action that we have seen today. Nolan Gorman feels like he might be heating up a little bit, guys. I'm not telling you that he's about to go on like a 12-game hitting streak or anything like that, something that we're seeing right now from Mason Wynn, but in recent games, it looks like he's taking better at-bats. And if you go back over the last 5 to 7 games, we're starting to see a little bit more of the power as well. This would change a lot about how you view this Cardinals lineup. Getting that power surge back into the lineup is something that they so desperately need, dude. They've been missing it so badly. This is the exact type of bat that can raise the ceiling of what you're seeing. You're seeing the floor raised by some of the guys that are hitting, like Alec Burleson, Mason Wynn. The ceiling can go up significantly if Nolan Gorman gets himself going as well.
Yeah, well, and I think I saw Jen Denton tweet out it's now 9 straight games that the Cardinals have homered in, or is it 7 straight games? 9 straight games that they've hit a home run in. So
no surprise, that is this stretch of games that we're talking about where they've been good again.
It's back to hitting for power. And like, you got a couple from Paul Goldschmidt. You didn't get any from Nolan Arenado. You're getting it from Nolan Gorman. You're getting it from Lars Nootbaar, from Alec Burleson. You got a little from Mason Wynn and Michael Ciani. Like, you're starting to see the power, and most specifically what we've talked about before, the left-handed power, which seems to be the most important asset of this Cardinals lineup beyond Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, is making sure that your lefties are hitting for power, and you're getting it from Burleson, you're getting it from Gorman. Gorman is one of those complementary pieces. We came into the season thinking that this was like a building block, and then you wonder if, okay, does he take a step backwards? Maybe he's a little bit more Mason Wynn, but if you're going to hit like this, the Cardinals are going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, they needed a left-handed power threat to start kind of really being there on a nightly basis, because when you had Gorman struggling, like, Nootbaar's got pop, but it's not like you feel like, okay, every time he comes to the plate, he could hit one 400 feet.
He doesn't impose fear in the opposing line, in the opposing pitcher.
Gorman does. And when Gorman is locked in, and you're starting to see that now over the last handful of games, he had the double earlier in this game, technically that was last night, that's confusing, and then he homered today as well, but he is starting to look better, and I think what is you're starting to see him do is he's starting to lay off that, especially against lefties, starting to lay off that slider away, and he's starting to have a better sense for that high fastball. And that's what he was really chasing early on. And look, he's going to go through these stretches where he is going to be awful, and I mean awful, for a month. He's probably going to finish every season hitting anywhere between 200 and 250. The goal is, though, is he going to be consistent with his power? Is he consistently going to be a 30 home run guy for the St. Louis Cardinals and have that slugging percentage be where it needs to be at around 470? Like, that's where he needs to be at, and I think he'll get there. But now that he's starting to heat up, you are seeing, to your point, the ceiling get raised, and you're starting to see that fear factor.
I'm going to give you the good and the bad, the yin and the yang of Nolan Gorman. You ready? This is his last 10 games, 8 starts for him. 28 at-bats, 16 strikeouts.
Oh.
Is that the good or the bad?
Yeah. I hope that's the bad.
I really hope that's the
2
bad.
doubles, 4 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the good and the bad, right? Like, the sucky part is, man, 16 strikeouts and 28 at-bats. That is not what you want. But also, when he connects, more often than not, he's getting it for extra base hits. 6 of his 10 hits in his last 10 games have gone for extra bases. And 4 of those 6 have left the yard and put runs on the board. That's what you need him for, dude. This is what a prototypical 6-hole hitter from the left side with pure power looks like. It doesn't feel good a lot of the time. And when he comes up with runners in scoring position and he doesn't hit a long one, he's probably going to strike out, and you're not going to feel great as he's walking back to the dugout without making even a productive out. It's just an out. But when he connects, this dude is a game-changing presence in your lineup. And this is what we were waiting on. We said all year before they got into this recent 8-9 game stretch, the thing that this team is missing is the power. Nolan Gorman is the most likely source of that power.
Not to put more pressure on him, but like when you take Goldie and Arenado out of this, because I don't believe they're 30 home run hitters anymore for this team, you don't have another player that profiles as a 30 home run hitter. And we talk so much about how you can't win in today's game by just going station to station with an entire lineup.
Slug, baby, slug.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a ton of guys that hit 15 home runs for you, that's great. But you're going to have at least a couple of guys who can be 30 home run hitters for you. And that is really going to be the profile of Nolan Gorman, because if you're not going to be that, the Cardinals are going to have to go outside and find that guy, because I don't think Walker is going to be that either.
If you don't have Goldie and Arenado be 30 home run guys, and we thought that coming into the year, you almost need more from everybody else. Like Gorman can't become now he's a 30 home run guy, he's got to be a 40 home run guy. And Donovan and Newport can't be 15 home run guys, they both need to be 20 home run guys. And Mason Winn needs to all of a sudden become like a 5 home run guy. Like somewhere you got to make up for the lack of those 30 home runs, and that just puts more pressure on the guys around him, puts more pressure on Gorman to be more of a power threat. It puts some pressure on Newport and Donovan to develop a little bit of a power swing, and that's not their game. So that's why if Goldie and Arenado, and I don't think they're going to get back to their power swing, it puts so much pressure on the rest of the lineup to carry that load.
I would have to look this up. Can you be a World Series contender without multiple 30 home run hitters in today's game? How do you guys feel? Because Gorman, I think, is going to be a 30 home run hitter this year. I think he's going to get there. He's already is he at 8 now after today? Yeah. I think he's going to get there this season. I think that's probably it. I think Contreras had a chance, given how hot he was to start off the season. He had 6 in his first 30 games. It's just such a great start to the year.
He's typically, 25?
20 to 25 is kind of where you expect Contreras to be. I don't think you have anybody else right now that projects to be a 30 home run hitter by the end of the year.
I personally don't think you can. I think you have to have at least 2 guys who can be 30 home run hitters. Now, maybe somebody who can pull up a roster that won a World Series can showcase it to you, but you have...
Diamondbacks, I can't imagine the Diamondbacks had multiple last year, did they?
No, they would have.
I think Carroll got there.
Christian Walker would have gotten there. So if Carroll got there, then they had 2.
Yeah.
Marte's more of a doubles hitter than he is a home run guy.
25, and Marte was 25. So, yeah, that would be the closest thing probably to what we're talking about, because they had Walker at 33, Marte at 25, Carroll at 25, and Gurriel at 24. And nobody else on the roster had more than 11. Which is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild.
And that was also such an outlier.
Right.
Like that was not the kind of team that you want to be resembling, but I mean, trying to get there. That's probably it.
I think you probably can do it. Now, I wouldn't call them a World Series threat. They weren't really a World Series threat going into the playoffs. They got hot at the right time and got in, so I just wouldn't classify them as that or a World Series contender, even though they got there.
Sure.
But you can do it if you've got like lights out pitching.
Well, I was going to say you have to have elite pitching.
Yeah, you think about how they did it. It wasn't they were hitting for power. They did a little of the station to station, but they generated power, and what I mean by that is they would get on and boom, they take second base. And then they had just lights out pitching. You had Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and at the time Brandon Pfaadt just throwing bullets out there in that starting rotation. Then you had a bullpen that was locked down at the back end. Like there's a formula to do it, but I don't think you'll ever be viewed as a World Series contender if you don't have it. You almost need a couple of breaks to go your way and to get hot at the right time.
I think you're going to have at least 2 guys who could be 30 home run hitters for you. I think that's the teams that are dangerous in the playoffs, is when you know that, hey, there's at least 2 power threats that we're going to have to find our way through. And maybe Jordan Walker can be that other guy. Maybe Wilson Contreras can be. But to me, none of those guys' profile is the same ilk of when you look at World Series contenders and you look at the big power threats. If you don't have Goldie and Arenado doing that, it's going to have to be Gorman and one other player.
Somebody on the text line said, guys, in 2012, 2014, and 2010, Giants had no 30 home run hitters. Do you guys agree with? I think the game has changed a bit. I feel like since 2015, this is like the post whatever that era was for baseball. I think since 2016, we've seen a change. Starts with the Cubs getting to the World Series and winning it that year, because the Royals were very similar to those Giants teams in that they played great defense, they ran all over the place, and they just had a lot of really good players. I'm not sure that the Royals had a single elite player, a lot of really good ones on those teams. I think since then, we've seen people construct their rosters in a different way, and it requires different things of your lineup, basically 2016 to where we are today. I'm open to that being wrong, but it feels that way to me, that this is almost a new era of baseball compared to what it was pre-2015.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I think pre-2015 you had a lot of teams, like think of the Cardinals. I think
I feel like
still
06
here.
to 15 would have been that kind of range.
Yeah, because like in that range you had like
05, because White Sox were 05, and that kind of fits into that criteria as well.
When I think of those, like 15, I could be wrong, but like Matt Adams was like a 3-hole hitter for the Cardinals, and he wasn't a 30 home run guy. That was like 15, 20 home run power, and he was like a legitimate 3-hole hitter at the time. That wouldn't fly in today's game. Like Alec Burleson, who we comped yesterday to being a potential Matt Adams type hitter, Burley's like best suited to hit 6 for you, or 7 for you, or 5th. Like, he's not going to be that much higher in the lineup than that if on a good team. A good team would rather have that guy near the bottom portion, because you are looking for more of that slug in the on base. The OPS really is what you're now looking for in the middle of the order. I would agree somewhere in that 16, 17, 18 range is when it shifted, and then we've been with that ever since.
Yeah, I mean, once you saw Kyle Schwarber as a leadoff hitter, it felt like things had shifted a little bit in Major League Baseball.
Was that the giveaway?
Just a little.
Kind of felt that way. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, questions and answers coming up next.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends at Classic Air Care, taking care of your HVAC system, making people comfortable since 1926. And I can personally talk about what they've done with my HVAC unit, and they've kept a 26-year-old unit continuing to run for us year after year after year. But I've had the conversation with them about purchasing a new HVAC system because, look, it's a big purchase. Everybody understands that, and you want to make sure you're getting the honest upfront approach. And that's what Classic Air Care offers. They walked me through the whole process. They explained to me what is needed, what is not needed, and what's just kind of that upcharge with it. They're upfront with everything. If you don't believe me, check out the thousands of reviews that are on Google Review of what Classic Air Care provides. This one's from Dennis. An immediate response when we had an issue, but when we purchased the new HVAC system, Brandon was well prepared, had great people skills, was easy to work with, and walked us through the entire process. So get with the right company, the company that's there to take care of you, and that's Classic Air Care. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you, classicaircare.com.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Before we get to that, we just heard it's Mike Ryder's birthday here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy birthday, Mike Ryder. He doesn't want to talk to you guys. He hates coming on the radio. He would hate that I'm doing this right now, but he's the one that makes everything happen here on 101 ESPN.
He's the chef
Radio
in the
Rider on
kitchen.
X.
None of the rest of this would be possible.
Yes,
So
drop some tongue emojis to him on Twitter. What is it, right, T-Bone?
At Radio Rider.
Send him some tongue emojis.
Rider Radio.
he'll be into that.
31.
He's
Radio
into that.
Rider
He's into that
31.
stuff. At Radio Rider 31, just comment on one of his posts.
Maybe he changes it every year. Maybe he's 31 today.
Tweet at him and just a tongue emoji right now.
Or put him in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/101ESPN STL.
I'm so glad I
Tongue
don't have to
emoji.
Chat up.
Camera's not on me, so you can't even see it.
From 314, guys, I feel like the Pacers-Celtics is going to be a dramatic 7-game series. How do you feel after that game last night? T-Bone, I'm sorry, buddy.
Well, if the Pacers knew how
Did
to
you
close
watch
out a
any of it?
game,
No, I was in a rain delay and
Dude,
they were too in the second half.
for people that aren't aware, T-Bone is a Pacers fan. Now, he doesn't actually like the Pacers, but he's a fan of the team. He hates everything
Someone
about them, though. That was brutal. That was such a choke job last night. I don't know how you found a way to crap that one away, but they should be up 1-0 in this series. It's kind of embarrassing that they aren't. I don't know how they're
They're gonna get swept. That was your only win.
I think they lose this one in 6 because I don't trust the Celtics. I know the Celtics are the best team remaining, but, dude, that team, there's something wrong with them. It's just off. Jaylen Brown hit a huge shot, but before that, he was not very good in that game last night. It's just weird. I think this one goes 6. I don't find the series to be particularly compelling, if I'm being honest, though.
Oh, I don't either. And I'm a quote-unquote Pacers fan. Yeah. I think they lose this series in 5. Like, I just don't think they can compete with the Celtics. I think that was their best shot to get this one to where it was, oh, okay, now we've got the Celtics on their back heel. I think the Celtics kind of were sleepwalking through that one and now are like, well, okay, Pacers are going to push us. We got to bring it to them now, and I think they lose in 5.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Guys, for the three of you, who would be your most untouchable Blues player this offseason? Robert Thomas, but if I put him to the side, let's go with another one.
Perico.
That's a good one. I think I'd go Parayko too, but it's odd because like now
We should be saying Bennington.
Well, no. Trade goalies if you can. I hear Tom Stillman's comments and I go, man, how does Parayko fit into this? How does Bennington fit into this? I feel like they're separate because I think goalies and defensemen age like a fine wine while forwards age like milk. So that's why I think it's a little different, but these comments all of a sudden from Tom Stillman are making me really question myself if they are untouchable.
I do think like what Tom Stillman said makes you question it, but
we'll get into his comments, by the way, here in just a moment.
You have to have players that can take you over the top and win games when the team around them stinks. And if you believe, which I think they're going to be better than what they were last year, but if you believe that it's going to be the same roster, younger players, and they're going to be bad, then you have to keep both Binnington and Parayko until their contracts are done, because they win you hockey games that you don't deserve to win so that your younger players don't get depleted. And if you don't believe that that matters, go look at the Montreal Canadiens.
So I'm going to give you my honest answer to this question. Again, setting Robert Thomas aside,
Jordan
you guys
Kyrou.
tell me if it's a cop-out. My answer would be Dalibor Dvorsky. It's the most untouchable Blue. Is that a cop-out because he's not technically on the Blues?
I don't think so, because he's their property.
Okay.
I originally thought Snuggerud.
It's just so hard to put one of those players in that conversation because you don't know what they
They're
become.
counting on him to become the number 2 center. And if that is your role, your expectation for him, I'm not trading that away. And if it doesn't work out for you, then whatever the next version of the Blues will be, well, then they're going to end up not living up to expectations.
Yeah.
And they're going to need to go further into free agency or trades to be able to mask over their whiff in that regard. It's kind of like the Cardinals right now. Like, why are they where they're at? Well, because they missed. They missed on their evaluations of the starting pitching. You should have Michael McGreevy as a number 5 starter right now. Gordon Graceffo should be in your rotation right now. You should have other guys that have come through your system that are you should have Dakota Hudson in your rotation right now. Jake Woodford should have been a part of this. Jack Flaherty should have been leading your rotation, but they missed on all of those guys, and so now they're stuck. So to me, Dalibor Dvorsky would be my most untouchable non-Robert Thomas Blue right now.
Your nucleus is very obvious. It's Thomas, it's Neighbors, it's Snuggerud, it's Dvorsky.
It's probably Kyrou.
Probably.
People don't want to talk about it. But
Probably
it's true.
Kyrou.
It's probably Jordan Kyrou.
And then, I mean, I don't know, like, because of the age, I would still put Parayko into it. Yeah, Toropchenko. Because of the age, I would put Parayko into it, but
Kessel. I think they include Kessel.
Yeah,
in that
Kessel has to be in it now, but like you don't have much defensemen that are in that, which to me, I have a feeling the first 5 picks that are selected in this year's draft by the Blues, if they use all of them, are all going to be defensemen. Because your system's bad. And then Joel Hofer is in that conversation.
Another guy that I would like, if you said that was a cop-out that I said Dvorsky, my answer would have been Jake Neighbors. That would have been the next one that I would bring up.
Surprised it wasn't Binnington, for as much as you don't want to move Bittner.
I don't want to move Jordan Binnington. You guys heard my take on that with the Nashville Predators yesterday, so I don't need to include it here today. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service X line for questions and answers from the 314. Guys, who is your favorite Cardinal to watch right now?
Mason Wynn.
Say that would probably be my answer. Sonny Gray. I put when Sonny Gray pitches, he's must-watch TV. So to go different, I would say Sonny Gray.
If you had to get to the third, who would be your third answer there?
Another team.
Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent.
I really enjoy watching Andrew Kittredge.
I'm sorry, but
I'm serious.
but if I get excited for a bullpen pitcher, that team sucks.
Dude, you're not wrong. But I don't know when I'm going to see him.
That team sucks. Then
He looks like a beer league softball pitcher. Like everything about him, the big beard, his mechanics. There's zero effort in his motion. Zero.
He looks like he shotguns 2 Miller Lights before he steps onto the field.
He should.
That's Lynn, too.
Well, yeah, those are natty lights.
But Lynn looks like he's throwing with effort, more so than Kittredge. Kittredge, everything looks effortless. Watch him pitch next time you see him out there. You're going to be like, I don't understand. Why is it 95? How does he get this velocity?
I think my third, because it's not a bullpen pitcher, would be Wilson Contreras.
Yeah,
That's
he's
my
not out there right now.
Okay, well, I still look forward to watching him.
I think my third right now, and I can't believe we've gotten here, would probably be Siani. Plays elite level defense in center.
This team sucks.
Can lay down a bunt.
Help.
Now I get why Jim Bowden wrote this team off already.
Makes
Hey,
sense.
the Cardinals are
We're getting excited for a bullpen pitcher.
They're 2 outs away.
Oh, great. Well, now we're going to lose.
Here
Should I
comes
say
the
it right
bomb.
now, or should I
Don't.
wait?
Just shut the
No.
hell up until they close
I'll
it.
finish that statement on the other side. Plus, Alex, our YouTube chat is commenting on my attire for today.
Yeah, because you look like a bad version of Tom Selleck.
So he said, BK on vacation already? BK, I thought you were great in Hawaii 5-0. I got a little bit of a Hawaiian shirt on
Magnum
today.
PI over here.
I thought it was a good look for this morning. I don't
Did
know
you?
why. I just felt
You
like
woke
I
up and-
walked to my closet and I was like, you know what? It's feeling like a Hawaiian collared shirt kind of day. Open it up a little bit,
man.
let the chest hang out.
I'll tell you what Alexander Steen told me the one time I walked into the Blues locker room with Birkenstocks on. It's a bold choice, isn't it, Ferrario? And I looked at him and I said, cool, these are going in the trash, Steiner, thanks. And they went in the trash.
Hey, as long as you wear it with confidence.
Oh, no, I
you
didn't.
can make anything
He
work.
lost confidence.
I
when
walked-
Steen said something.
No joke. I walked to my car and threw them in the trash can.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone on BK. Coming up next, it doesn't sound like Pavel Buchnevich is necessarily in the Blues' long-term future unless he agrees to their terms. I'll tell you about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight, BK. You know what that means. I've already opened up my Circa Sports Illinois app, and I've made my Ferrario parlay for the night. So listen in, because I'm about to give you the odds. If you do this, what I'm about to tell you over on DraftKings, the odds are plus 1,400. If you do this on it is plus 1,550 over on the Circa Sports Illinois app. I'm taking the Panthers minus 1.5. I think they're going to win it easily in New York. I'm saying Matthew Tkachuk scores the goal.
Kreider.
Don't watch for Chris Kreider. I'm not worried about that big-nosed guy. And I'm saying under 5.5 goals. Again, that bet that I just told you, 3 picks, plus 1,400 on the other sportsbook apps, plus 1,550 if I do it on Circa Sports Illinois.
You're getting more money. That's what they're known for. Or over at Circa Sports. They are the biggest sports book in Las Vegas, and now they're available to you at your fingertips in the state of Illinois. Be sure to download their app today. By the way, we're going to be hanging out with Circa Sports out in Alton, Illinois, coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday. More information on that at 101ESPN.com. If you or someone you know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. That's a Redbird winner right there, Alex Ferrario. Yeah! The St. Louis Cardinals get a win today. Last night, I don't know how this all works at this point. 3-1 against the Baltimore Orioles. They have won 2 in a row against the Orioles. They have taken this series against one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. Alex, yesterday we said, all right, you got our curiosity. do this again a few more times in your next 5 games, you'll have our attention. Well, they are getting rapidly close to gaining our attention. You've got 4 games coming up against Baltimore and Chicago. 1 more later on today, here in about 30 minutes or so against the Orioles, and then 3 games this weekend against the Chicago Cubs. Alex, where are you at right now? Just vibes check. Where are we at right now with the St. Louis Cardinals, given the fact that they're playing legitimately good baseball against Milwaukee in that final game, and then Boston, and now against Baltimore?
I'm starting to believe.
Yeah,
I know.
baby.
I know. I'm not fully on board yet, which I don't think anybody wants me on board. Frankly, it's like BK with the Blues. Just stay the bleep away.
I said I was done with this team. Nobody believed it.
I still think the Cubs is going to be an important one because that's the NL Central. And like, look, the Orioles are a World Series contender, so this is a massive series win. And if you can, not care about Game 3 of the series, Ollie Marmol, you might get a sweep against this team. The Cubs are still going to be the biggest deciding factor for me because you are now, 0 in Central matchups this season, which is only just the Brewers, if I'm not mistaken. If you can go out and do this same...
But close.
Which one?
The final game against Milwaukee. That was when this started.
Yep, I said series.
Oh, okay.
You lost all the series.
I apologize. Bad job by me.
Try and listen.
Actually,
do you even watch the games?
No, sorry.
Come on,
Maybe
man.
Put that second ear flap on.
Maybe check that next time. Here's the thing.
Yeah, check that.
I still think that they have to beat the Cubs for me to fully be engaged. You're still not getting Goldie and Arenado coming up with hits, but you're getting everybody else. Hopefully it can all coincide with each other and you can put together a massive streak. I'm excited. I'm starting to believe. I'm fully on board once they win that Cubs series, if they win that Cubs series.
So I feel better about the team, and they are actually now watchable. But the red blinking light of Goldie and Arenado, when those guys aren't hitting, guys, they can beat anybody, as we're seeing. Because I believe that this offense is now starting to turn the corner. And it's not Goldie and Arenado, it's the other pieces. Donovan's now starting to look like what we thought. Newt's starting to look like we thought. Gorman's starting to get hot. Like, you're starting to see the complementary pieces finally start to live up to what we thought the expectation was. But, guys, if Goldie and Arenado aren't hitting, they can beat any team, but they can also lose to any team. Like, we saw it. They lost to the White Sox. They lost to the Chicago freaking White Sox. So,
and the Athletics.
They took 2 of 3. Do
lost.
I feel better about the St. Louis Cardinals right now? Yes, I do. But I still can't buy into anything that I'm watching because they don't have their big boppers bopping. Right now, in that game, and look, it's tough because, look, it was 2 days. Yeah. Goldie Arenado, 1 for 8, 4 strikeouts. Not going to cut it. Not going to cut it from those guys in the middle of the order. And I know the offense is playing well right now, but it's just not going to work. They can lose to anybody if they can't get those 2 going.
The problem is it feels like this is just a hot stretch where all of the bats are clicking.
Yep.
But what happens when they go soft? And Goldie and Arenado still aren't back to where we thought they were. You're back to where you were last month. And that's what worries me.
That's the concern. You're eventually going to have a scenario in which Nolan Gorman isn't hitting for power, and Arenado and Goldie are still struggling the way that they are. And then what's your power source? Where is the slugging percentage coming from? Burleson is going through a really hot stretch right now, and I think Burleson is just a good hitter. But there will come a point in time where he's hitting for more average than he is for power. And the power that we've seen lately maybe will start to dissipate a little bit. There's ebbs and flows through a season for every single hitter. The reason why Goldie and Arenado are so valuable, or have been in the past, is because they're supposed to be kind of the metronome, right? They're the guys that at all times are somewhere in the middle. Like they're the consistent drumbeat of your season. Goldie's going to hit 280 every single month. Nolan Arenado's going to get you to 35 home runs and 100 RBI every single year. These other guys just like swing wildly in every possible direction because they're young. They're up-and-comers. They're guys that are trying to get to where Goldie and Arenado eventually got to and unfortunately are not at anymore. And until, I'm with you, T-Bone, until those guys get back to where you can at least trust them to be really good, productive major league hitters, which they're not right now, it's hard to believe entirely in this team. That being said, somebody on the text line said, guys, they're still like 7 games out of the division. Sure. They're a game and a half back of the wild card right now. You're a half game back of basically everybody that is chasing the wild card. If you win later today, you will be tied with the Diamondbacks, the Giants, and the Pirates, 1 game back of the Padres. So there's nobody else that you have to jump. It's just you and all of those teams, 1 game back of the Padres for the final wild card in the National League. That's what you're chasing right now. We'll worry about the division later on when that becomes something that's actually reasonable to discuss. But right now, we're talking about the wild card, and you're in it. I can't believe they're in it, but they're in it. The National League allowed this to happen. It's very similar to the Blues early in the year, Alex, where we were like, I don't understand how the Blues aren't further back. It doesn't make sense. The Western Conference wasted their opportunity to just completely put them away, and so the Blues eventually had an opportunity to get back into it. We've had a few texts recently that said, like, hey, is this just going to be a rerun of the Blues season where the Cardinals go on a nice stretch, they play better baseball, and then ultimately it becomes exactly what we all knew it was going to be, which is them being essentially out of it for the final month? That's very possible. My two concerns at this point, Goldie and Arenado, to your point, T-Bone, on that, and the rotation.
Yeah.
What we have seen over the last couple of days is guys that have mostly pitched well all season long. I've had my ups and downs with Lance Lynn, but overall, despite not getting deep into games, he's been effective in the innings in which he's pitched. My concern is not the guy that's going to be starting later today with Kyle Gibson. It's with Michaelis, and then whoever is starting that other game, sounds like it's going to be Matthew Liberatore for the Cardinals. Those are the guys that concern me right now. And if you get back-to-back short starts again, it's going to start putting so much strain on your bullpen that the dam's going to break eventually. So those are the two things that really concern me. The strengths that were supposed to be there for your team with the bullpen and the middle of the lineup, if those start to go down into a downward spiral, now it doesn't matter what the other guys are doing. So that's where I'm at.
Sorry, T-Bone, go ahead.
Well, they can survive what you're talking about right now because they seem to somehow have every Thursday off. But that ends in June. Like, they've got, I think it's 1 or 2 off days in June, and that is it. They're basically playing 28 games in a 30-day stretch, or 29 and 31, however many days there are in June. But they only have 2 days off, so that's when you really need that rotation to. I'm not saying Michaelis has to be very effective for 6 innings, but can you go 5-6 innings at a time and at least be competitive? You know, he doesn't have to be lights out for 6 innings, but can he be competitive? Because the 5 spot currently is not that, and I don't think Matz is going to be back in June. There's no clear timeline for when he's going to return.
Starting to throw again, which means nothing.
Oh,
but
God,
he's
back.
starting.
And when he
to throw
comes
again.
back, let's all be honest about it. He's probably going to start in the bullpen, and it'll be great the final 5 starts of the season, and then that will be it.
Like, you have to figure it out now because of what you're talking about, because you're entering this stretch in June that's going to be tough on the rotation and the bullpen as a whole because of that. But for them to exit that muddy middle that they currently sit in, and look, yeah, they're in it. They're a mediocre team at best right now, and they're in it because the NL hasn't put them away. The only way they can exit that is the Goldie and Arenado. And to your point, the rotation ends up still holding up. If Michaelis starts to pitch better, they figure out this number 5 spot in the rotation, and Goldie and Arenado start to hit, boom, now you've exited the muddy middle, and now you can be talked about, and you can jump back on board and say, this is a playoff team for sure.
I think the problem for me, bigger picture, not just this season, but beyond it, is it just feels like that if they figure it out and then they're inconsistent, but they're just good enough to get in by the end of the season, then you're going to be doing the same thing over and over. And at some point, it feels like you got to make some type of difference. And that's where it felt like so many fans were upset, but they were willing to listen because it felt like John Mozeliak wasn't going to be in charge if things went haywire. And if the ship gets righted, not that you're rooting against the Cardinals, because look, everybody wants to see them have success this season and be a playoff team, but it just feels like if they do it, and after what took place in the first month and a half of the season, and if that happens again for a couple of months, but you still sneak in, then it's going to be high-fiving in the front office that, hey, we got through it and did what we needed to do for another season.
Are you talking about getting into the wild card?
Yeah.
I'd be fine with it. Like, am I alone in that? I saw a text that brought that up as well.
No, I want them to be a playoff team. I'm kind of sick of this bad for 2 months, good for 2 months, bad for 2 months, good for 2 months. You get into the wild card and you high five, and then you're out of the wild card immediately. And it feels like if you do it again,
don't. And I know, like, this is playing the hypothetical thing of nobody wants to hear this, man. And I'm going to be persona non grata.
Oh, he's upset they're getting pre-med again.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all.
That never works out for me.
I think I'm the minority here. I think most Cardinals fans are right where Alex is, and I get it. I really do. Guys, look at the recent history of who gets to the World Series. I guess just the teams that are getting there via the wild card. And I'm not telling you should aim for that. Aim for 100 wins and use the wild card as a soft landing spot like the Phillies did, right? They're a team that built themselves to win 100, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked for them during the regular season the last couple of years, and they're constructed to be a really good playoff team. I'm not sure the Cardinals are. They'd have to make a significant addition at the deadline in order for me to believe in them. They don't have a number 2 starter. And every team that's made it to the World Series in the last decade has a really strong number 2 starter that the Cardinals currently lack. So that's a front end thing. If the Cardinals were to make it to the wild card and they make a deal at the deadline, again, a lot of ifs here. They're currently 4 games under 500. A lot of work to do, to say the least. I don't know how they would get there, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say they probably played pretty good baseball for the next 4 months. We would probably look back at it and say, man, remember that weird start to May where they didn't play good baseball and they got beat by the White Sox and the Tigers? That was strange, wasn't it? And then you get to the end of the year and we're talking about a team that we start to believe in again because probably Goldie and Arenado are hitting again. And now you look at the roster and you feel a lot different about it, dude. Goldie and Arenado back to being stars, if not superstars. Your young talent starting to take the next step that you were waiting for from them. Now we're talking about, oh, look, Gorman, 32 home runs this year. Jordan Walker came back up to the big league level and became a 280 hitter with a little bit of pop. Mason Wynn, Gold Glove caliber shortstop who was nearly an all-star this year. Alec Burleson, wow, look at that, 290 hitter this season. What a great season by him. Hey, look, they developed Ivan Herrera. We've got Wilson Contreras. You suddenly start to feel a lot better. Bullpen looks good. You've got a number one starter in Sonny Gray. And I'm not telling you like all happy talk here, but if they get to the postseason, if that is my end point, I think all of that stuff that I just mentioned probably had to happen for them to get there. And so I think you're going to feel a lot different about the team and their plan and their build by the end of the season than what we currently do when they're 4 games below 500 and 4 teams are between them and the wild card.
Maybe. And like, I want to be clear. I'm not rooting against the Cardinals. I've already seen a couple of people mention that I just want to see the Cardinals lose. No, it's good for us if they win, frankly. And it's exciting when you have the team winning. But I felt like we said that exact same thing when they got into the wild card against the Philadelphia Phillies and when they got into the wild card against the Dodgers. And it was the same offseason, and it was the same start to the season, and then it was the same, oh, we're going to go on a rally, and then they're going to get in, and then it's going to be the same outcome.
Do you feel differently, though, if they had won that game? They didn't, and I can't change the outcome, but I'm telling, like, if they had won that game and maybe they get further into the post, do you feel different? Because I think Diamondbacks fans didn't feel bad coming off of last year.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, like, if you get past the wild card and get to the DS and that's it, no. I want to feel like there's progress. And
I think winning in the playoffs is progress. To me,
that's where I would like if you get to the wild card and you win a series.
I just don't look at winning the wild
guys
card.
Are starting to play better, and you have Sonny Gray, and the Stars are still like pretty decent, and Arenado gives you enough glimmers of hope that you can build around this, and you just like move on from Goldie, throw that money elsewhere, either on a bat or on another starting pitcher. There's enough there for me. And it doesn't take much. You know this, Alex. I am with the Cardinals where you are with the Blues. Where you think the Blues are going to be good next year, and I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. So, like, we're just vice versa here, right?
It's that time of the year.
It won't take a lot for me to buy back in, but I will understand kind of how this could get better quicker than how it currently feels. It feels bad because the young players were bad. If the young players start living up to expectations, it becomes a very different conversation both for the immediate and long-term future of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at this of what the season looks like. Maybe I have to see what the season looks like. It just feels like what the last few years have been. Take last year out of it because obviously that was awful. But the years prior to that, it just felt like there was no progress being made.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't think you can back into the Major League playoffs. Like in baseball, I don't think you can. Hockey, I think you could have. I think in football, you see teams that can kind of
with
back
a
their
third
way
wild
into
card,
it.
you can't back into the playoffs.
No, but I think if you get to the wild card, you're typically, especially now that there's a third one, there are like 5 teams that are going to compete for that.
But isn't that backing into the playoffs?
No, I think winning the third wild card means now. Depending on how you view, like I don't like the third
we
wild
talked
card.
last week about how the third wild card's a joke.
I think the third wild card's bad for baseball because it lowers how teams have to build. But I don't think if you get the third wild card, that doesn't mean you backed into the playoffs. I think you earn the third wild card spot.
Do you think the Marlins earned it last year?
Yes, I think they had a good
based on what they did the
staff.
first half of the season.
Yeah, in the first half they were really good. Now they started to fall off, and we all knew they were a fraudulent team. Like nobody believed in them.
They knew. They fired their GM because they wanted to continue tanking.
Yeah, exactly.
They knew they were frauds.
Yeah, so like they are the one that is like, okay, did they back their way in? I'd hear an argument on it, but I would still say no because of what they did in the first half. And they were really good in run games, and they added at the deadline. You know, when I think of a team that like backing in, I think of like the Blues who like were a seller essentially at the trade deadline and did nothing and were still almost made the playoffs. Like that's almost backing into the playoffs in my opinion. And if the Cardinals find a way to win in the playoffs or even get to the playoffs, things were going in the right direction. Now you can question the future of the build and all that all you want because Goldie's not going to be here after next year in my opinion. But I think it's a success if they get to the playoffs, and if they win around, it's a major success.
Do we have the lineup yet?
We do.
Okay. Coming up next, we'll play the lineup game here on 101 ESPN, and at 12:30, we'll give you a chance to hear what Tom Stillman had to say about Pavel Buchnevich's future here in St. Louis. All of that coming up, so much more here on 101 ESPN. All right, it's
This
time
is
for the
gonna be
lineup
brutal.
game here on 101 ESPN. It's a doubleheader, which throws a wrench in things. Kind of a doubleheader.
T-Bone's favorite doubleheader. It's only like 4 innings from the first game.
No.
2.5 innings earlier, and then another 9 innings
I
now.
love a
John
good 18
Means on the
innings.
mound for the
14.
Baltimore Orioles. He is a left-handed pitcher, Alex. He has not yet allowed a hit to a left-handed hitter.
Good thing we don't have many of those.
He has also not walked a single batter this year. And 3 starts for the Orioles, 0 walks on the season.
Pretty good.
He is a severe fly ball pitcher. When guys hit him, they hit him very hard. Not a big strikeout guy, not a big velocity guy. So that's kind of what your scouting report is for John Means. All right, this is where things get tough. Lefty pitcher on the mound. You got a whole lot of left-handed hitters on this roster, Alex.
Stack the roster.
And we got to navigate. The other day, Nolan Arenado was scheduled to be at third base, and then they decided to put him at DH towards the end. Does that mean maybe he's dealing with a little something behind the scenes, and maybe they want to get him 2 straight days off? That's possible. Does Mason Wynn get a day off here? Possible.
I don't think you could give Mason Wynn a day off.
Personally would go Mason Wynn batting
I would
leadoff.
too.
How would you feel about that?
Because if he hasn't given up a hit to a lefty, I can't put Donovan in the lefty spot or in the first
In the
the leadoff spot. Yeah, I would say Mason Wynn also. You got to put a righty there.
I'm watching the Futures game, and this thing's all over Instagram. It's like, this guy threw a ball 100 across the time. That's awesome, but, like, how many throwing errors does he have?
Shut up!
It's me every time. Okay, now the fun really begins. You go Newt here since he got kicked out of the game
Wow,
yesterday?
we must be trying this game.
First time in forever.
Carlson, do you just put your righties
hell
up
no.
at the top of the order? Goldie?
No, if Goldie's playing, I think they'll stick 3-4. You want to go Carlson there? I do not like the idea of that. I would go Newt, but
Let's try Carlson here.
okay.
What the H is wrong
Sorry,
with you
I apologize.
guys?
It's on me. Bad job by me.
Let's hope I'm right. This is going to be like Pedro Pajes. Is this Newt Bar?
Should we go Goldie?
I would go Goldie.
I think
One of them's going to be DH, but I feel like you have to play both of them. Finally, Ollie's trying to sweep a series. Goldie.
I love gold.
All right, here's where things get difficult. I have questions on if Arenado's going to be good to go today. My guess is they wanted him to be off of his feet for a reason. But where are you at with? Do you think he'll play?
So but let's workshop this. If he doesn't play, Gorman at third, or would it be Donovan at third?
One of those two. Probably
And it
Gorman. And
feels-
you put Donovan at second would be my guess.
And then your outfield would be
I think they're going to get Carlson in this game.
Siani, Carlson, and Burleson? Oh,
Well, Newt.
Oh, no, Newbar. Okay.
You going to go Arenado?
I would say Nolan Arenado.
Nolan is a security guard at the lumber yard.
All right. I mean, I like the start of this. It feels like a going
just
for a sweep type
Give it
of
time.
lineup.
Apparently, this is where it'll fall off.
All right. So
Burleson?
our right-handed hitters that remain,
Do we have any? Pajes?
the catcher, and Carlson, essentially.
Good.
That's it.
Good.
I think that's probably what you go with at 5. So
Carlson?
You want to go Carlson here?
Go for it.
You are so wrong.
Do you think Herrera could be DH today?
No.
Okay. I think not.
Yeah, there's no way. Last night to today. Do you go Burleson here? He's been hitting
try
so
that,
well. I'm assuming if Carlson's
Probably
going to
in
be
the outfield.
in. Yeah, unless Goldie's DHing.
Either way.
Yeah, Burleson.
Burley.
People are
You're
upset
so
with this lineup?
rugged and manly.
People are upset with it.
I didn't say they were upset with it.
I mean,
The YouTube looks like they're pretty upset.
really? Mm-hmm. It looks good to me so far. Maybe it gets worse at the bottom. All
All
right.
I know is we're trying. Crawford's not in the lineup. Maybe.
Unless Mason wins DH.
Or Crawford's playing second.
Yeah, never know. Or third.
So
Carlson. I'm going to say Carlson for every spot in the order.
You know what?
And he's
Go
not
with
gonna
it.
Be in there. Let's say Carlson.
Hey,
There we go.
Carl. Good to see you.
Again, I don't know why people would be upset. All right, we
So is this Gorman
exclusively
or is
have
this-
lefties and catchers left.
is this Gorman or is this Donovan? Because 8-9 seem pretty simple, right? Pajes and Siani.
I don't know if Siani will
You don't
play
think
today.
Siani's
Carlson,
in?
I bet you Carlson or Newtbar would be my center fielder today, probably.
Okay.
I don't know that this is a great matchup for Siani, and you use him maybe as a late game replacement defensively if you're up.
So we got second base and another outfielder and your catcher. Those are the last 3 spots, right?
Yeah. You gonna go catcher here? Pajes? He's a righty.
Get him high up in the lineup, right?
Let's see Pajes.
No.
Burleson?
We just did to Burleson.
Ah, he's in the 5-hole.
Trying to clone him?
Hey,
I
it'd be
got
great
10
if we
guys in
could.
my lineup. Donovan?
I would say Donovan or Gorman. I feel like this is your second base spot. So which one you want to do?
Let's do Gorman. Just hit a home run.
No.
Okay, Donovan.
Okay, Donnie it is.
Donnie.
Donnie it is.
All right, way to go,
Why are
Donnie.
people upset about this lineup?
This is probably where they get upset. Pajes is hitting.
Probably Pajes and Ciani, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Let's go Pajes.
What?
So
I don't know what that
I don't know that
Wilson
cut.
something.
Oh, okay. So you go Ciani here?
That's a Marshy cut.
Or are you?
Let's try Ciani.
Go for it.
Michael.
Why are people upset?
Michael.
You're not Michael Phelps. You're Michael Cera.
I mean, that's about as good of a lineup as you can ask on a getaway day where you just played 3 innings.
All right, you guys ready to hear this lineup? Mason Wynn leads off at shortstop. Lars Nootbaar bats second and right. Paul Goldschmidt is your DH today. Nolan Arenado is at third base. Alec Burleson is at first. Dylan Carlson in left field. Brendan Donovan at second. Pedro Pajes is your catcher. Michael Ciani in center field with Kyle Gibson on the mound.
Explain it to me. Why are people upset?
I don't know.
Like I said, I saw a couple people say this one's going to be a rough one.
I hate to say, sometimes Cardinals fans are a little unreasonable.
I mean, the only thing you'd be upset about is
you guys get permission to steal the lineup game this time. Well, the fast lane was going to have no opportunity to play it because the game starts like now, basically. So, yeah, I don't.
Here's my tinfoil theory is why people are upset. Dylan Carlson playing.
Yeah,
And not Nolan Gorman. That's why people are probably upset.
I could see that. Kind of.
And Pajes being in. But, like, what were you going to do? You had a backup catcher playing no matter what. But Carlson playing in this one would make the most sense.
You have to. Eventually, you got to start it. Like, if he's going to be on the roster, his job is to hit against left-handed pitching.
And Gorman's
he's not doing it very well, but that's his entire role for your team, is to play a couple of days a week against left-handed pitchers.
I guess the tough part is Gorman just hit a home run off of a lefty, so it's like, why not put him in the lineup?
I mean,
But maybe he needs to get up to date with his popcorn.
now you've got a great bat coming off of the bench late in this game as a potential pinch hitter whenever they bring a right-handed pitcher in the mound. So you're able to do damage when it matters the most. Like,
We got 2 off of the bench, even with Herrera, too.
potentially, if they decide to use him, I have my qualms with the way that they go about that. It's the whole thing where they're like, but we don't want to have a catcher. Then yeah, if your catcher gets hurt and you don't have your catcher, like, you're screwed. It is what it is. Just lose your DH spot. It's fine.
Just put somebody behind the plate. It doesn't matter.
I think this is a pretty good lineup.
I mean, that's the best lineup we've seen for a series finale probably this season. Because most of the series finales, when you've gone 0-6 in them, have just been dog poo.
You know what? I get it. I'm upset Crawford's not in the lineup either.
That's probably why people are upset. You want Crawford in.
How is Brandon not going to be able to hit above 100 if he's not getting to play on a getaway day?
That's true.
I love that they got Mason Wynn in there.
I just so we're clear, I think Crawford should be cut from this roster.
No, you said it. You want him in the lineup.
I feel good about this lineup. It's got 4 runs in it today.
Oh, they might need more. Guys, we just burned our 3 best relievers for this last game. They're probably not pitching in game 2.
So how many?
Well,
pitches did
JoJo
they end up
absolutely is not pitching today.
All 3 of them are not pitching. They're done. They've sat down.
JoJo Romero had 7 pitches in that game.
He's down.
You're not using JoJo again. It's like, what, 8 straight
Helsley's
games?
available.
No, he's not.
Helsley's thrown like 15 pitches this week.
You stop it. He cannot throw again.
He just did an interview with Jim Hayes last night saying how he knows he's only pitching once in a day, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ryan Helsley.
No,
You know it.
none of those 3 are available.
JoJo's arm doesn't work right now. He was meditating in the bullpen today, trying to figure out if he was going to last.
Your closer for this game is probably
2 in a
Fernandez.
row. I bet you Kittredge could give you an inning.
No.
You got King. You got Kittredge.
Kyle Gibson's got to go 9
Fernandez.
today.
You got Roycroft.
Are you trying to convince
Roycroft's still
yourself?
here?
You
He's
got-
gone, right?
You got Lotus.
Ludus? I think that's his
Ludus.
name.
Yeah, you got some guys.
Yeah, they need more.
Give us
This is
a
BK. This is BK trying to convince himself that you can close this one out through 7 innings if you need to.
Gibby's going to get you 7.
Gibson's going 9.
I hope so.
Gibson's going 9. They're saying you're
Gibby's
going.
giving you 7,
you
and then
either need-
Kittredge has 8 and 9 for you.
You either,
Oh God.
you either need Gibby to go 7 or you need the offense to score like 10.
And they'll come to JoJo late, be like, JoJo, please, one more inning, JoJo, please.
All right, coming
He's a
up
bad man.
next.
He did it.
Earlier today, Tom Stillman was on with the morning show. He gave an interesting answer on Pavel Buchnevich's future in St. Louis. I have less confidence today than I ever have before that Buch is going to be here long term. We'll tell you why next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friend and insurance agent Tracy Bibb. Hope everyone was safe from the storms last night. But look, my house, the wind was blowing heavy. A couple of tree branches fell. Luckily, it didn't hit anything of importance. But with the storms that we got last night, and of course, we're going to keep getting them over these next few weeks, you got to make sure you're taken care of with your insurance. And that's why you need Tracy Bibb. Her and her team at Allstate. One, they're always trying to save you money on your car and your home insurance, but they're looking for the opportunity to always be present for you. And what I mean by that is if you have an issue, flooding, hail damage, car accident, tree limb falls on your house, you call an 800 number, they don't answer, you don't get answers. Instead, you're with the right agent like Tracy Bibb. You call her, she answers, you have the problem resolved within minutes. That's what you get, customer service with Tracy Bibb. Give her a call today. Tell her Alex Ferrario was talking about it on the radio. That's where you heard it, and she'll take care of you from there. Free non-committal quote, walk you through the whole process. 314-328-4260, 314-328-4260. It's no fib. Always in great hands with the Bibb.
Tier Hendricks here, the Sports Center update joined by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals completed their game from last night, and they beat the Baltimore Orioles 3-1. They're getting set to start the third and final game of the series here in just a little bit. Kyle Gibson will be on the mound for St. Louis. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, we've got the Stanley Cup playoffs for you. We've got the Eastern Conference Finals starting up, as well as Game 1 between the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers. Pregame coverage starting at 6:30. The Sports Center update joined by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Coming up in a little bit, we'll get to more likely to happen. 314-399-9646. If you guys have anything you'd like to throw in, give us multiple scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely here on BK and Ferrario. But Alex, earlier today, Tom Stillman, the Blues chairman, was on the morning show, and he was asked about Pavel Buchnevich, his future in St. Louis. I thought this was maybe the most illuminating answer that we have heard yet on what Buch's future holds for him in St. Louis.
But I suppose you'd start with a blanket statement. You know, who doesn't want to have Buchnevich on their team? He's a great player, and and both sides of the puck. I mean, he's. It becomes a question of what makes sense with a player who I think will be 30 when his free agency comes around. Does that fit with our stage where we are, and especially what term does it take? Term is tough at that age. And so, a lot of factors will go into determining whether that makes sense for our team at that time.
Okay. So I don't think the Blues are going to have any issues paying $8 million for Pavel Buchnevich. I think they'd be happy to do it. I think the question is, based on what we just heard there from Tom Stillman, Alex, how long are they going to be paying that for? And at what age are they no longer paying him $8 million per season? If he wants 8 years and the Blues are willing to offer 5, it's a pretty wide gap. We're talking about $40 million in guarantees versus $64 million in guarantees over the total of that contract. How did you feel when you heard that from Tom Stillman earlier today?
That he's not going to be signing a contract with the Blues. And I was 50-50 on it, because prior to hearing Tom Stillman talk, it sure sounded like Doug Armstrong wanted to do everything possible to get him locked up, which makes sense because he is a very, very good player. But when Tom Stillman, who was talking about the time frame and the age group of what you're trying to compete with, and you've got a guy who's 30 years old when the new contract would start, and he's talking about, does it fit in line with what our goal is? And you look at where they're at, the time that he would start his new contract, Robert Thomas would be 25, if I'm not mistaken. Jordan Kyrou would be 28. You'd have a lot of guys around 23, 24 years old, a couple of 21, 22-year-olds. And then you'd have a guy with a fresh new contract at 30 that if you sign him long-term, he's going to be 38 at the end of it. And that answer he talked about, like, it just doesn't make sense to have a player who's outside of the window when the window is opening. And that might be where you're at with Pavel Buchnevich. I mean, like Ryan O'Reilly, when he was up for his contract extension, was 30 years old. He would have been 31 with a new contract with the Blues. And instead, they went into that offseason with no contract, and they didn't get one figured out, and they traded him at the deadline. I don't think I've ever been more, I don't want to say confident, but I don't think I've been ever forced into one reaction than listening to Tom Stillman talk there. It does not sound like Pavel Buchnevich is going to be in their plans beyond this season, unless he signs a 5-year deal.
If you're Pavel Buchnevich,
no.
Are you taking a 5-year deal?
No, because the way I play, and here's the thing about Buch, and I think you got to take this into the understanding on both sides of it. For the Blues, the way that Pavel Buchnevich plays, that doesn't hold up long term. Like you're a guy that plays on the penalty kill, which means you're blocking shots. You play a lot in the dire situations, and at 30 37, 38 years old, when this team is ready to compete and you're making $8 million, are you going to be playing like an $8 million player? But on the Pavel Buchnevich side, if I sign a 5-year contract for you, one, not going to be doing a whole lot of winning in the first couple of years. Maybe on the back end of my contract when I'm 34, 35 years old is when we start winning. And that's when I would go into a free agency season. And I'm still looking to play another 3, 4, 5 years. And at that point, you start to get 1-year contracts and you get lowballed. It is going to be, if they get this done, I'll be very surprised. But this is going to be a very difficult negotiation tactic because if I'm Buch, I'm not signing for anything less than 6 years. And if I'm the Blues, I'm not sure I'm going above 6 years.
Man, just looking for guys that fit the criteria of what we're talking about, because he's going to be an older free agent, and that's something that makes it really difficult. Like JT Miller, 30 years old when he signed his contract. It's a 7-year deal that he ended up signing.
But mind you, he signed it with Vancouver that was ready to win when he signed it. And so they knew, like, hey, on the back end of this, it's probably going to suck, but if we can win a couple of Stanley Cups at the beginning of it, that's where it's most important.
Nazem Kadri ended up signing.
That was just a bad contract.
It was 7 years, $7 million per season.
Yeah. Bo Horvat is the one for me that I comp it to Pavel Buchnevich. When he signed with the Islanders, I think it was 8x8. And I don't remember what age he was when he signed it.
Below this.
Yeah, he's 27 when he signed an 8x8.
Yeah, that's just like if Buch last year signed an 8-year deal, we all would have been like, okay, it's taking him through his age 35 season, makes all the sense in the world. This would be starting at age 30. It makes me wonder, do you think that deal is out? Not an 8-year deal, obviously. He can only get that from the Blues unless he's traded. But do you think there's a 7-year deal out there for Pavel Buchnevich?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
I think a team would come to him right now and give him a 7-year contract because they would do what JT Miller did with Vancouver, where it was...
There's just so few forwards at this age that get that kind of a term.
Yeah, they do, but if you're a team that's trying to win a Stanley Cup now, I think you look at it and you say, we got a top 6 or a top winger for the next 7 years, and probably the final 2 are going to be bad, but we might be out of our window in that time frame, so let's go do it. If Toronto can get rid of Mitch Marner, I think they would give a 7-year, $8 million contract to Pavel Buchnevich today. It's a different area and placement that the Blues are at. Like the Islanders gave it to Bo Horvat, one, because he was 27, but they felt like they were in a winning window. They had just been to the conference final twice, and they said, well, we need this type of player to get us over the hump. The Carolina Hurricanes might want a guy like this because it gets them over the hump. If you're a team that doesn't expect to be contenders for 3 years, he's going to be 33 going on to be 34 years old with 4 more years at $8 million. Does he fit into that same window? I think you need these types of players to win at any level, but it's different if you're paying him $8 million and he's a third or a fourth line player compared to 28, 29, 30 years old and you're playing in the top 6.
I'm going to give you a list of the forwards that are... They were at least 30 years old let me look at 29 years old at the time of signing. Okay. The contract kicked in 29 years old or longer. 6 years, making at least $7 million per year. So 29 plus years old, 6-year contract, $7 million plus forwards. JT Miller, Nazem Kadri, Zibanejad, Huberdeau, Sean Couturier, and Logan Couture.
3 of those contracts, I'd say, were really good contracts.
And
Zibanejad,
Miller,
Couture, and Miller.
And Couture's is aging poorly now because of...
It's just because of where they were at. But San Jose did what they did because they were like, hey, we got to try and win.
3 years left on it, though.
And that's what I think you'd be falling into. Now, you're hoping to contend when he's at the age that Logan Couture is at.
But he's 34 and he played 6 games this year.
Yeah, he's had injuries. And think of Buch's time in St. Louis, too. Like, what you have had... 1 season where he's been healthy, and I think that was his first season.
I ask this for 2 reasons. One, maybe we're overestimating what Buch can get on the open market in terms of term. And 2, this is terrifying. This list of names that I just read to you, that's scary in terms of what
2 out of 5,
34, 35 could look like for Pavel Buchnevich when you're contending. Because you don't need the first 2 years of this deal. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for years 3, 4, 5 to be great years for you. And if he is starting the decline at that point or getting into significant injuries because your body doesn't respond the same way when you're 33, 34, 35 as it does when you're 28, 29, and 30, that's where it gets really hard for the Blues to be able to get into that kind of term with a player like this. Even though you guys know how much I love Pavel Buchnevich. I think he is an ideal hockey player. And if I am somebody that is in contention right now, I'm trading for Buch, giving up assets for him, and I'm giving him the deal that he's looking for and just living with whatever the back end of that contract looks like.
Yeah.
But for a team like the Blues, that's what makes this very difficult, man.
Well, and so I correct myself. This was the year that he was healthy. The final 2 games or 2 games he missed in the middle of it. The first year he missed 9, and then this last season he missed 19. So he hasn't really stayed healthy other than just this past season. In the scenario I'm going to present to you, let me know which one you feel like is better off for the Blues. You sign Pavel Buchnevich 8x8, or you trade Pavel Buchnevich to either Ottawa for Jacob Chychrun or Vegas for Shea Theodore. What puts you in a better position?
In the trade.
Because you're getting a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah.
And you're getting, in both of these scenarios, somebody that fits the same time frame that you. And we're seeing a lot of texts on the text line of, well, if you do this, you have to find the replacement for him right away. No, you don't. Because you're hoping the replacement for him.
Find the replacement for him in the next 3 years.
Yeah, you got to find the replacement when you're ready to contend. The replacement for him next year is going to be a younger player. It's going to be a Dalibor Dvorsky.
You're probably, once again, going to be worse next year.
In the scenario that I just painted for you, if you trade away Pavel Buchnevich and get a defenseman back, yeah, I would agree with that statement. Are you able to pull off a deal and trade him and make another trade and bring another forward?
I just think so often we think about these things in the lens of what does it look like for next year. Think about them for the next 3 to 5. That's what the Blues are doing right now. Expand your lens. Instead of just looking for the 2024 season, how do I become a contender? What do I need to do to make the team better right now? Think about for the next 3 years, what's the best version of the Blues? Is it with Pavel Buchnevich as a part of it, or is it, to Alex's point, with one of these defensemen that you could potentially get in return for Pavel Buchnevich? Is that the better way to go about things? I think if we're just being totally honest, despite how much we love Pavel Buchnevich, it's the latter. It's going with one of those alternatives. But that has to be available for you. I don't know how I feel about Pavel Buchnevich for draft picks.
No, that doesn't benefit you.
I think you need to get, if not an NHL caliber player, somebody that's close to the NHL level, somebody that you think is really going to impact your roster within the next couple of seasons. Yeah. I think that's necessary.
You pull off a deal where you trade him for a Martin Necas from the Carolina Hurricanes, you trade him for a Shea Theodore or a Jacob Chychrun or a Thomas Chabot from the Ottawa. You fill a hole elsewhere on your team by trading a guy that you don't feel like is in your same time frame. And real quick on the YouTube page at 101 ESPN STL, somebody brought up a good point. Now, he was a little older, but look at how fast it fell off for David Backes.
Yeah, different styles of play as well.
He's a center, not a winger.
I think there's a lot of differences.
Which one's Buch?
He's a winger. I think there's a lot of differences there, but it's an example that we can point to that is
32 years old when he signed.
Yeah, another reminder that it's risky, man. Whether it's him, like, I'm going to bring somebody up that people aren't going to be thrilled about either. Braden Shin. He's not the same player today that he was when he signed that deal. They didn't expect him to be the same player.
Right.
Alex Steen. Didn't expect him to be the same player. Alex Steen's probably the best example of this, honestly.
And in terms of inflation and market value, yeah, you're talking about he was $6 million, I think Steen was, and if Buch got $8 million with the cap going up, you'd be talking about roughly around the same cap hit.
And I don't remember exactly when Steen signed that deal. I think he was 32.
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Wasn't it a 4-year deal? I think.
I think it was 5 by like 5.5. In the final year, he didn't play on it. They had that
back injury
decision that they were going to go separate directions.
I think he was about 31, 32 years old when he signed that contract.
Okay. So he was consistently a 50 to 60 point producer. You expect more out of Buch. Buch is a better offensive player than Steen was at that point in his career. But kind of similar numbers, both really good 200-foot games. Steen at that point was playing 19, 20 minutes a night, eating a bunch of minutes for you on the ice. And those next couple of seasons were really good, man. Still putting up 50 points. And then, boom, turned 34. It fell off of a cliff. 10 goals, 27 points. Now, they won the Stanley Cup, but he's a fourth-line player for you there. Mm-hmm. Next year, 55 games, 17 points, and it's over. It goes quick, dude. And that's a player that has somewhat of a similar style of game.
And it was a 4-year deal.
Here.
It was a 4-year deal when he signed it for 5.75 in 2017. So he would have been 32, 33,
yep.
and it was a 4-year deal. Doug's not going to go beyond 36 years old for a player.
Imagine if he had signed the deal going into his age 30 season, and you get 64, 52, 51 points. You're feeling pretty good, right? But unfortunately for the Blues, given their timeline right now, you're talking about the next 3 years being that retool. And then you get into the contention window. 46, 27, 17 points is what you got out of Alex Steen. If that is what ends up happening with Pavel Buchnevich, you missed your window with him. And now you've got an $8 million cap hold for a guy that's playing third or fourth line minutes for you. Now you're screwed. Now it's really hard to build a contending roster with that guy not contributing the way that you expected to when you signed him. That's what makes it very difficult.
Yeah, you got to have that flexibility for this roster once you get to year 2, 3 of this retool, because that's when you start to be very aggressive in free agency or via trade. And unless you're able to accomplish that, you're not going to be able to accomplish that. I should correct myself. If you've got 3 guys that are tying up $24, $26 million already.
I would do a 5-year deal with him.
I would too.
I'm not sure I would do much more than that.
I think 6 would be my max, but if we're going 6, it's going to be less of a cap hit.
Yeah, like $7 million per year.
7.5. If you want 5, I'll give you 8. I'll give you the same contract that Thomas and Kerber got. And that to me keeps you competitive while allowing the flexibility in years 3, 4, and 5 to go out there and make
minimizes
moves.
the risk as well.
Yep.
But then it comes down to what's Buch want.
Yep.
If Buch wants to maximize his value, he could probably do that elsewhere.
Yeah.
If he wants to just get the 5 years, lock in the money right now, get it done, be in a comfortable situation, a team that he's comfortable with, a place that he's liked, then you can do that here. I think that's probably what it's going to come down to. Junk drawer coming up next. Alex, I need help. I need help.
Yeah, I
with
can tell by your
parenting advice.
wardrobe choice.
Hey,
Going on vacation. Woo!
I'm getting ready for Mexico City. We're going in
Cowabunga.
December.
Caramba!
Get ready for Mexico in what, December?
We're so close.
I think you were playing Grand
December
Theft Auto
15th,
Vice
baby.
City.
I'm leaving. I am almost 6 months away.
Vacation! Woo!
Hey, we're
You
going
look
to
like you wear
Alton.
bucket hats.
Oh,
I've
so
never
fucking
worn a
heavy.
bucket
You
hat.
look
I'm
like-
not a big hat guy.
Because you got a big head.
I've got a small head and a big nose.
Is it
doesn't
because
really go well
your
with a hat.
nose sticks out further than the hat?
Correct.
And so people see that first.
Then you get a weird, awkward sunburn.
It's not even like, you know how for like if you
Tip of his nose look like you got a big
Look like
pimple on it.
Rudolph.
It's Christmas. Wow, vacation and Christmas.
most people yesterday you walk outside, it's raining, they've got the brim of their hat
Yeah,
on. Right?
BK's nose is the umbrella.
Yeah, my nose still gets the drip. It's not great.
And then
All
your
right,
nose gets the drips.
it's not what you want. So the
Kara,
reason why
come
I
stand
said
under my nose. I'll keep it dry. You know you're not supposed to open up umbrellas in houses. It's bad luck. Why'd you wipe your nose there, man? It's got the drips.
drip.
Wow, vacation!
All right, so the reason I said I need help, baby boy's starting to walk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do.
So Luca, he's got this walker toy that he likes, right?
Is it the one that like little balls spin
dude,
on it?
Yep, that one.
Those are funny if you put them towards a wall because then they keep running into the wall.
You are sick and twisted, man.
No, man, it's just
you
like
have got problems. So yesterday, I say that. Yesterday, he tried on his new water shoes. He cannot walk in them. Has no idea what's
And
going on.
BK's thinking, he's like, I'm going to keep you in these shoes all the time.
He keeps trying, and he just keeps falling over on himself. Alex, I'll show you a little glimpse of what was happening yesterday at our house with him attempting to walk behind this walker in the shoes. He's just like stumbling. It looks like a guy that's 24 years old that's going to a bar, and it's like midnight.
It looked like
He's
me
been
actually this
drinking all
past
night
weekend
long.
golfing.
Yeah, pretty much.
He looks
He
like
only
me
gets
after,
2 steps and then the feet drag. It's like a
What's
seal.
going on? So the reason why I bring this up, Alex, he's insane. Like insane.
Got no
Yesterday,
brain.
from about 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock, it was nonstop, just moving, walking, crawling, just at all times needing to do something new. When does this stop?
Never.
Okay, good.
My favorite comedian said when his kid started to walk, he wasn't prepared for that change in his lifestyle. So every time his kid would try and walk, he'd push him down. He said it.
He's worse than you.
He said it's probably why I love him so much. He said it savored me about 6 more months of him, but problem was he didn't figure out how to walk until later. He just kept pushing him down. Yeah, dude, it doesn't stop. Once they start walking, then they start running, then they stop listening, then they just start running away from you.
He'll be done in 18 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And my crazy self was like, hey, let's have another one. This is fun. But it doesn't
Well, you
stop.
have cheaper by the dozen at home.
Yeah, I do. But see, once you have them all so close together, it's already chaos, man. So you might as well enjoy it. Okay. The problem is once you get out of chaos and then you go back into chaos. But yeah, I hate to break it to you, but this is where that fun newborn baby, oh my gosh, look how cute he is. That stage is over. And now you enter.
Gone.
Yeah, I have a toddler.
Oh.
And when he starts walking, you'll think twice about calling me cruel by pointing my kid in direction of a wall. Just keeps running into it because at least I can get some stuff done.
Sure. Yeah. Now when I do laundry, I just hand him some of the clothes and he just like throws them all over.
Oh yeah,
It's just easier.
I do dishes with my youngest. I'll hand her a fork and she'll put it in the dishwasher.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then sometimes, i.e. most of the time, she takes the fork and then just chucks it across the room.
I was about to say, we're starting to use plates, right? The little.
Yeah, we use paper plates in our house.
Well, he's
Smart.
he's still trying to figure out how this works. So the food goes on the plate, and then the plate goes
you
on.
gotta
the
get the
ground.
ones that stick.
Yeah, this one we thought stuck.
Oh no,
It turns out it doesn't.
baby's got strength, man. Baby's got this like incredible Hulk strength.
Somebody said T-Bone just stopped talking. Yeah, that's pretty much how that goes.
I don't have this issue. I will go home, take my nap. Don't got to worry about anything running around. I hope.
That's more of a problem than a toddler.
Somebody from the 314. Guys, as a parent of 4 between the ages of 10 and 19, I can promise you this will come to an end. Unfortunately, the next problem will be even bigger, and then you'll be saying, remember when we just had to deal with blank?
My dad and I were talking about this when we were golfing. He said, like, as bad as this seems, he said from the ages of 13 until probably when I got married at 26, he said he would have gone back to toddler stage any day of the week.
Really?
Because you worry about your kids when they're gone, when they're driving, when they're elsewhere. Then you worry about their financial situation. He's like, it is a nightmare. He's like, I will take toddler days any day of the week.
All right.
But
So that was
BK.
Alex cheers
Yeah.
BK up and makes him feel better.
BK,
We took-
just when Kara's not looking, just nudge Luca over. Just shove him down a little bit.
No, I'm not doing
When he
that.
stands up, just knock him
I took
down.
Luca to daycare today. We take him to Kara's cousin's place. She's watching a couple of the other cousins as well. And one of them,
She got space.
yeah, right?
Got a couple more kids.
It's reasonably affordable, all things considered.
Well, any of that is.
One of the other kids came up to me whenever I dropped Luca off today. He said, Luca was crazy yesterday. This kid is also crazy. Like, I've seen him before. If he's saying my child is nuts, dude, I have no idea what happened yesterday. Because when we go over there, we're like, hey, was Luca good today? Yeah.
Meanwhile, BK
lying to you.
Meanwhile, the 6-year-old's like, dude, he was insane.
Dude, your kid needs to chill.
All right, coming up next, I can't believe it. I'm genuinely shocked. But it sounds like the Cardinals are going back to Matthew Liberatore for another start. Why? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about Rhino Shield, changing the look of your home. And to do that, you need to use the right company, because if your house is brick, or if it's block, if it's aluminum, if it's stucco, if it's asbestos, any types of siding, you'll see it when the paint starts to deteriorate. It starts chipping away. You get some water damage. The UV rays deteriorate it. That's the stuff that you get on the generic paint that you buy from a hardware store. So you might say, I'll save money, Alex. I'll do it myself. Sure, but it's going to add up when you're doing it year after year after year, which is why you need to use Rhino Shield. I did, because I had them paint our home 3 years ago, and it looks brand new today. They use a 2 to 3 ceramic coating process that sticks 8 to 10 times thicker than any type of paint you're going to buy at a hardware store. It's backed also by a 25-year transferable warranty, 100% waterproof. It deflects 90% of the UV rays. You truly get the coating of a Rhino on the exterior of your home. They also do roofs. You could check out that. Businesses, whatever you need, call Darren, tell him Alex Ferrario sent you, and change the look of your home. 877-25-RHINO, 877-25RHINO.com.
The Cardinals have a problem. They don't have a number 5 starter.
Or
I don't know how we
four-starter.
arrived in this place. Steven Matz gets hurt, and immediately they're turning to Matthew Liberatore and telling us that, hey, everything's going to be fine. It was not fine. Everything was very much not fine.
was
In
fine.
3 starts, he failed to get through the 4th inning, rather. And Alex, in those starts, the bullpen had to take over 17 innings. You were depleting your bullpen. You were unable, by the way, to use Matthew Liberatore in your bullpen, which means, hey, JoJo Romero, just keep throwing until your arm falls off. Everything's going to be fine. John King has not imploded yet, but it's coming. That will happen at some point. He relies so heavily on the batting average on balls in play because he doesn't have strikeout stuff. He is essentially left-handed reliever version of Miles Michaelis. You don't know when it's coming, but eventually they're going to get to him. When you had Matthew Liberatore in the bullpen, that was his role. He goes out there when JoJo went the day before. Now I can go to Liberatore against a string of left-handed hitters. You know where that would be really valuable? Today. In this game that's about to come up, when you got Kyle Gibson on the mound and very few relievers that are available for you, Matthew Liberatore would be a great weapon to be able to utilize out of your bullpen for like 2 innings today. That would be awesome. You get to the bottom half of this order and you get all that range of left-handed hitters that will include Gunnar Henderson. Dude, that's the perfect spot to utilize him. Unfortunately for the Cardinals, that is unavailable to them because, Alex, it sounds like he's going to start again. I'm genuinely shocked by this. The Cardinals said after the game in which he started, we've got to find a new alternative. They looked at their alternatives, every single one of them apparently in the minor leagues, and said to themselves, can't do it. None of them are good enough. What we just saw, 3 innings again from Liberatore, that is better than anything we can expect from these guys that are currently down in the minors. Alex, how is this possible? How is this the best answer again for the Cardinals, given what we know about Liberatore as a starter?
It's not.
Especially going up against the Cubs. This is a real lineup that you're going to try to navigate.
It's not. I mean, you're fooling yourself if you believe that what you saw from Matthew Liberatore was better than what you have in the minors. Now, maybe it's the exact same as what you have in the minors, but you know what not using Liberatore in the rotation means? Your bullpen is better. And to me, this is front office malpractice. Like, you should not. If John Mozeliak is sitting up there saying, no, we're not going to make a roster move because Palante or Zach Thompson aren't ready to go, then that's malpractice. Because even if you don't want to go out there and sign a Brad Keller, because, you know, you don't want to detriment that 40-man roster like we always talk about. Palante in 16 1/3 innings, a 2.2 ERA. Is it great? No. Zach Thompson, 14 2/3 for Memphis, 1.8 ERA. Is it great? Probably not. That probably doesn't translate to the major leagues. But you know what that's got to be better than? Matthew Liberatore. And even if you get these guys up here and they provide you the exact same stuff that Liberatore provides you for 3 2/3, you know what? At least I've got somebody to go to my bullpen that I know can at least close it down for 2 to 3 innings, and I'm not overusing my bullpen.
Yeah, like, this just seems so simple to me. Just go out and make the move to acquire Brad Keller. You don't have to acquire him via the waivers. You could trade something. No, you don't have to give up much. This is not one of those like massive trades that you make at the beginning of the season. This is not going out and getting Luis Ariz. Brad Keller stinks. I'm not trying to sell you something here. Brad Keller would give you probably 4 to 5 innings on average and give up 3 to 4 runs in those innings in a typical start by Brad Keller. And it's not going to be pretty when you're watching it either. Going to be a bunch of balls that are in play. You're going to rely on your defense heavily. Nothing about this sounds particularly appealing. But by having Brad Keller start that game for you, you now have Matthew Liberatore available for you out of the pen 2 to 3 days the rest of the week. So, yes, I am in some ways conceding that my 5th starter is not good. You're already doing that with Matthew Liberatore. I'm getting a little deeper into those games, which helps my bullpen on that day and the next one. And I'm getting Matthew Liberatore back into my bullpen for a game like today that might be winnable with Kyle Gibson on the mound. And yet, instead, they're just sitting there on their hands once again and saying, everything will be fine. We'll be fine here. We know better than any of you. It's laughable, dude. It is absolutely laughable. And I understand why you don't call somebody up from the minors. I really do. If you call Zach Thompson up, he might go 1 2/3 innings in his next start. He has a 1-to-1, essentially, walk to strikeout ratio down in the minors. You're right, Alex. Good ERA so far. That ain't sustainable. What he's doing down there cannot translate to this level. And if he doesn't get the velocity back up, I'm really worried for the immediate future of Zach Thompson as a starter.
And I hear with Zach Thompson, for Palante, What are you hoping to accomplish with him?
I mean, hopefully you go down there and you stretch him out and you find out if he can be a starter.
I'd rather just figure it out now at the majors.
The thing is, like, there is real downside with those two guys. Because if they come up and they get shell-shocked, you might not get 2 innings out of them. I'm presenting a new alternative. Go get Brad Keller. He is available right now. The White Sox placed him on waivers. So you're not going into your minor league system where you're potentially hindering the development of a Sem Robersa or a Kloffenstein or one of the other, McGreevy, Graceffa, whoever. Okay, fine. I will listen to you there. Maybe you are worried about them getting shell-shocked at this level. Fine. Totally cool. You don't want to go to Thompson or Palante because you're really worried about them being able to get more than 2 innings at the big league level because their stuff's just not playing right now. Fine. I have another alternative out here, a guy that has been throwing in the big leagues, a guy that is ready to go, a guy that is literally available currently on waivers, and they decided not doing it. That, to me, is where we get to your word of malpractice. I don't understand how you can explain that away. It doesn't make any sense to me, T-Bone.
Yeah, I don't understand it from where the Cardinals' perspective is. And honestly, and look, I understand his numbers aren't great. I would still go sign even then like an Eric Lauer who got released from his contract in a minor league deal. You just got to bring in somebody. You got to try something new, even if it is probably not going to be better potentially. Like there's a chance that they could go get Keller. And as much as we're talking about Palante and Thompson getting shell-shocked, Brett Keller has the same kind of MO of a guy that could get completely destroyed in the first inning, and all of a sudden you go, oh, crap, we can't stick with it.
But he'll eat it. The difference is with Thompson or Palante, you're still like tied to them for future years. Dude, if Keller gets hit around and he throws 30 pitches in the first inning, guess who's coming back out for the second? Brad Keller. You know why? You got to eat this one, big dog. Like, go out there, give us 4 today. Yeah, you gave up 6 in the first inning. Go give up 4 more in the second inning, and you're just going to wear it.
Screw your career, Brad.
That's where he's at. At this point in his career, he's a mop-up duty guy. He's out there to throw pitches. Just throw pitches and give us a chance today.
Poor guy.
And most of the time, he gives his team a chance. There will be some days where it just looks really ugly, but he's going to get you through. I don't know that that's necessarily the case with Thompson or Palante. If they go out there and throw 35 pitches in an inning, the Cardinals might have to go to somebody else in the next inning because they're worried about them. You ain't worried about Keller. If something goes wrong, put him on the IL or release him. That's how this thing goes with these guys.
And my guess is, because of everything that you just said there, the Cardinals would tell you we have a better chance with Liberatore. Even though I don't think that's wrong. I think it's wrong, but I think they would tell you that. I think they would tell you, hey, we can get a better 6 innings combined.
But you don't the other 5 days.
That's fair.
That's the problem. Is like, sure. If we're so micro-focused on the 3 innings that he's pitched, will those 3 innings be better for you than the other alternatives that exist? Probably, maybe, possibly. But you're doing something here that is ultimately going to rob you of the opportunity to win games there. Today is the perfect example of that.
Maybe they're doing this, though, because they do feel like Keenan Middleton's coming back sooner rather than later.
Cool, another right-handed reliever. Well, I need a lefty.
You got John King, man. You got John King. John King's your bad lefty. JoJo's your good lefty.
John King's been fine. The hate on John King. Come on, relax over there.
Because they're putting him in less leverage situations.
If they are going to go back with the Liberatore side of things, they need to try an opener. I would, and look, I understand that they're probably not going to see the result that they want from it. You're not going to see the result anyway. Like, you're going to lose that game. You just have to admit, if you're starting Liberatore or an opener with Liberatore, guess what? You lost that game. You lost that game before the first pitch was thrown. And to your point on adding Brad Keller, I think you can get a better 6 innings out of Brad Keller and Matthew Liberatore than you can with Matthew Liberatore and insert bullpen arm here. Like, you just can. Like, what's his name still even here? The guy that they've been having go with him, Leahy, is he still on the roster? I don't even know. I haven't seen him in a while, probably because they're having to save him for Liberatore starts.
I think he is.
So to me, you can get
he is
better. I know he's down. I know you're going to get a better 6 innings out of Brad Keller, who probably goes 4, maybe 5, and then insert Matthew Liberatore, or it doesn't even have to be Liberatore. It could be a right-handed reliever you go to in that spot. Then you're going to get from Liberatore and whichever bullpen arm they decide to use to combine for 6. Honestly, it's probably 2 bullpen arms that they have to combine to get to 6.
Somebody on the text line said this. Guys, they're too stubborn. They are trying to prove to everyone that they didn't lose the Arozarena trade. When I heard Mo say the other day, I'm not going to lie to you. When I heard Mo say the other day with Frank Cusimano, that, hey, it's still unwritten. We're not sure how that trade's going to go. Like Matthew Liberatore could become a front-end starter, or he could become a back-end reliever. That was something that did come to mind for me. Because when you hear Ollie come out after Matthew Liberatore's start and say, hey, we have to find a new option for a number 5 starter spot, it tells you where the manager's at. The manager doesn't want to do this. The manager is ready to go to somebody new. Well, that was the post-game press conference. And between then and today, when Matthew Liberatore threw a side session before the game, which suggests that he's going to be the starter in that 5th spot, something changed. And it wasn't the manager's viewpoint on this. I'm pretty confident of that. It's clearly something that took place within the front office. Why? Why is this the decision that they're making front office-wise? And in our opinion, it's making them worse. Doesn't make sense.
Then Ollie should take a stand then and just be like, I'm not using him. Goes into our bullpen.
Well, that's a good way to get fired.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you voice your opinion with this team, you get fired no matter what on roster decisions.
It's his job, though. His job is to do the best with what's given to him.
Your job is to win baseball games, and your best opportunity to win a lot more baseball games would be pulling Matthew Liberatore out of the rotation and putting him in the bullpen.
Well, who would you start?
Just use the starter. Go bullpen game. Go bullpen game.
Who would you go with?
Leahy?
Sure. Ludus. Roycroft.
That's what my point is. Like, you're going to get to a. I think you use an over. Problem is, a smart manager's just going to. He's going to go to his right hand of bats when you go to Liberatore. Like, either way, you're screwed if you're going to have him come in anywhere between innings 1 and 6.
Coming up next, more likely to happen here on 101 ESPN. All right, let's get to a quick, very abbreviated edition of More Likely to Happen. This is on me, not on you. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for More Likely to Happen. Alex, more likely to happen. The Cardinals win 7 of their next 10, or they lose 7 of their next 10?
They lose 7 of their next 10.
Yeah,
About to be number 1.
I would say more likely to lose 7 out of the next 10.
Good Lord.
Hey, man, Golden Guard not even hitting, they can lose to anybody.
You got Cincinnati coming up.
Oh, God. In Cincinnati?
I'm not going to mention the fact that you also have Chicago and Philly.
Yeah, that's good. They just throw that little one nugget in there.
Who's going to be starting when they go to Cincy?
Lynn, Gibson, and Michaelis.
Yes. Way to go putting Liberatore out there on the deciding match in the Cubs-Cardinals series.
I'm gonna say lose 7 of the next 10. Alex?
Oh, I don't have one.
Tebow?
More likely to happen. The Cardinals enter a rebuild next year, or they have a Jerry DiPoto style offseason?
Jerry DiPoto.
Yeah, Jerry DiPoto.
They're just going to switch things out. You look up and you're like, these are the same. I don't understand. And it's different names, but it's the same team.
That's what I would say.
I didn't have one because I thought we had 2 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, we're ready to go to break.
I was just like, might as well go to break.
Guys, why is the Cardinals' defense imploding in the last few days?
What would they do, man?
Well, Arenado had a weird play at third.
Too much pressure.
Gorman forgot how to play second base. The day before that, he almost forgot to tag somebody. Wynn had a weird inning.
Well, maybe Mark DeRosa was right. Gorman's pissed that he's not playing third base, and Arenado feels the pressure from Gorman, and so these guys are struggling.
There you go. He said that Mason Wynn was making him better, but then when Mason Wynn had a really rough inning, Arenado was like, let me do the same.
Cool. I got to make Mason look good.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues next year on 101 ESPN.
Skip mine.
Hey, Chris Kerber here, and listen, guys, I'm telling you, if you're like me, there's absolutely nothing fun about repairs to an appliance or something at your house. As a matter of fact, if you're going to need a repair, it always seems to come at the most inconvenient time, right? Well, if that happens to your air conditioning unit, if that happens to your HVAC unit, I'm going to give you a real easy solution. Calm yourself down, take a deep breath, call the folks at Classic Air Care. They're going to come to your house quickly. You can log in and you can schedule an appointment online as well. You don't need to be sitting there for 6 hours waiting for them either. They're going to text you when they're on your way. So you can still get things done knowing that you're about to get your air conditioner fixed again. Maybe you haven't had it serviced in a couple of years. Maybe you haven't had it cleaned out. Have somebody come in and maybe that might save you thousands of dollars in repairs later because it's actually been serviced like any machine should be serviced. So take care of things, stay calm, make it easy on yourself. Trust me on this. If something goes wrong or to prevent something going wrong on your air conditioning unit as you get set for the summer, log online, book an appointment at classicaircare.com. Air is spelled A-I-R-E. It's classicaircare.com. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Terry Steer, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals beat the Orioles earlier today, 3-1, as they finished up their rain-delayed game from last night. And they currently are wrapping up the series with Baltimore right now, as they trail 3-0 in the top of the third inning. Kyle Gibson is on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, and the Panamera Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
It's not going well for my boy Kyle Gibson. It's really not going well. He has thrown 67 pitches. He is not yet through 3 innings. Nolan Arenado did not help in that regard.
Here he is, blaming somebody other than the pitcher.
I mean, that was just a really good piece of hitting.
Hold people accountable,
high
BK.
And outside, and he goes out to get it, put it right through. Yeah, that's just
Hold
good
people
hitting.
accountable.
Chef's kiss.
All right, so the Cardinals are down 3-0 in the middle of the third inning.
Oh, they're going to win 7 of their next 10.
I said lose. We are now going out to the 101 ESPN hotline to be joined by Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs, I got to start with the question. How do you feel about Hawaiian collared shirts? Kerbs is on the
he hung up
ESPN
because it feels
hotline.
like it's
T-Bone,
the
do we have
worst.
something on the board that's messed up again?
Come on,
Did they
T-Bone.
change up the board?
How dare you blame
Jackson
me
messed
for
the
this?
board up again.
Is Kerbs there? Kerbs?
You hung up on him, didn't you?
Kerbs?
At least he got his live.
Kerbs?
At least he got his live read in.
Can you hear me?
I don't think Kerbs is
He
there.
doesn't like your Hawaiian shirt. That's what the answer is. Your stupid Hawaiian shirt. He wasn't going to answer it.
Let's see if we have Chris Kerber,
Round 2.
the voice of the Blues, here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs?
I'm all for wearing Hawaiian shirts. I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
All right,
Just
back to
wanted to see if
turning
we're on the
that
same page.
Curb says he matches his clothes, though, with little logos on it. So, come on.
I do. That's the best way. BK, by the way, I've got some other good news. I'm home in Manchester right now, and you may not have to worry about that Cardinal game for a while. That's about to get into a delay.
Yeah, this is Curbs. This might surprise you, but BK loves this type of weather. When clouds roll in and the thunder's rolling, oh man,
It's the calm before the storm that I really like, where it's overcast and like it starts to cool down a little bit right around this time of the year. It gets right into like the mid 70s, a light breeze. Curbs, there's really nothing better.
it's mid 70s and a light breeze because of the storm.
Well, before it was here. It was right now. It's pouring.
Curbs, I don't know about you, but I love a nice breeze in my backyard. You know, when the trees are blowing really hard and the branches are falling. That's my kind of weather.
Hey, listen, the ground needs to drink too. It's okay. Weather's all right, isn't it?
Weather's great.
Curbs, you got cicadas at your house too?
We do have cicadas at our house. I love playing with those things. It freaks the girls out when I pick them up. I'm like, yeah, but they're a lot more fun they're a lot more fun to wrestle if you grab them by one wing instead of two. you know. So, or if you really want to have some fun, take a pickleball paddle and tell one of your kids, go see how many you can get out of the air.
Oh,
that's worth filming.
Curbs, my dad used to, when I was younger, he would tell me to go stand underneath a tree where he knew there was a ton of them, and he would give me a wiffle ball bat, and he said, I got $100 for you if you can stand under this after you hit the tree for a minute. And now I'm traumatized from cicadas.
Yep.
I was cutting the yard yesterday, and I did it kind of evening time, right about 5 o'clock. And on the backyard, they were dive bombing. I felt like I was in like some live. I felt like I was in like the Tron of cicada games.
All right, Curbs, let's talk a little bit about hockey. Earlier today,
imagery.
Tom Stillman was on with the morning show. Some really interesting quotes from him, including what he had to say about Pavel Buchnevich's future in St. Louis. To sum it up, Curbs, he's I don't know if you heard the interview or not. He essentially said, hey, listen, it's really going to come down to term because given his age, he'll be 30, 31 years old when he signs that new contract, whenever it takes into effect. There are some concerns about term given where the Blues are at right now with their competitive retool. Where do you stand on that, Curbs? We talked about it a little bit earlier. I want to get your thoughts.
I think you got to re-sign him. And I understand. I mean, look, well, first off, when you get that kind of comment from the chairman of the team, that pretty much is where it's at, right? But go beyond that. I think that to speed through this rebuild and continue to go, at some point you're going to have to commit to somebody whose term gets a little uncomfortable. And the one thing that we haven't seen, well, you've seen it with Braden Shen. You may see it with Colton Parayko's contract, okay, but you didn't see it with keeping, say, Ryan O'Reilly, or you didn't see it with you know, going and continuing with David Perron, who I think was just a massive culture loss for this team. I do think at some point in time, the Blues will have to take on some contracts, play in the sandbox of some of those contracts that take a guy into 36, 37 when you're signing him at 30 and 31. I just don't think that teams can be successful these days avoiding that free agent market at that time and that's simply because that's the way the game is trending. That's the way the business is going. Players that are good enough players at that age are still getting those. And what you're finding is what teams tried to do is they tried to buy out the first couple years of a player's free agency in those middle contracts. That's exactly what's happened with Buchnevich, right? So the problem is these players are now hitting the free agent market at the age of when they're turning 30. Like he'll turn 30 during this season, right? Or maybe turning 31. Well, that gives you a little anxiety if you're talking about a 6 or 7 year deal that takes them to 36, 37. I was doing this with Joe O'Brien, our great buddy over there at Obi Clark's, yesterday when the topic of age came up. You look at the Dallas Stars, and I think that they've got to be the favorite to go to the Stanley Cup final this year out of the West. Obviously, they were the top team. They were the top team in the West. They're the top team in the Central Division. It is knocking on the door with Vancouver, right? They've got guys that are 39, 2 guys that are 39. They've got a 36. They've got a 35. Go look at the other teams. The Florida Panthers, from that standpoint, they're kind of younger. But some of these other teams have those guys that are still producing in that early 30 to kind of mid-30 range. And I just think you're going to have to get there. Now, when Tom's saying term, well, yeah. If he's looking for an 8 times 8, that doesn't make sense. You know, but if Pavel Buchnevich is for me, the 6 times 7, I think is a very fair range, somewhere where you give and take a little on the 7. You know, but to me, I just think that when you have a player that you know takes care of their body, you know takes care of themselves, and has the hockey smarts, I think you're going to have to be playing in the sandbox where some guys are under contract until they're 35 and 36, and having a couple of those on the roster, you know, will be okay. Now, you know, do you eventually have to move somebody? Maybe, but those players are just not easy to find. Those all-around complete players that can produce at a high level. And I talked to Pavel before he left, guys. I know he'd like to stay. And as he says, he goes, for me, he goes, I'm in my prime right now. I want to win. That's what he said. I want to win. And I think he's going to have that opportunity here. I really do.
So let's go down a hypothetical path here, Curbs, because I know you love these. But if you're unable to come to terms to where he wants an 8-year deal, which would absolutely make sense on the Buch front, would it make sense for the Blues to trade him in the offseason and see what they can get? Or do you ride the wave out to see if you can get 1 year of maybe making the playoffs and then just walk away from it?
No, if you and I did not hear the whole interview with Tom this morning. Yet I was in a part of it coming out of a meeting. To me, Alex, and again, this opinion is being based off of track record that I've seen. Let's let history tell the future here. Doug Armstrong is really good at assessing where he's at with people. He's going to get a good feel. I believe that Doug Armstrong and Pavel Buchnevich's team are going to talk to each other, and they're going to get an idea. And I think if they don't have it already, they're going to get an idea pretty soon as if something is possible. When you look at the contracts that the Blues have, where they have guys signed into their mid to late 30s, the two on the books right now are Braden Shen and Colton Parayko. And Doug Armstrong, especially of late, has a track record of getting these deals done the year before going into their final year. We saw it with Thomas, we saw it with Kyrou, we saw it with Parayko, we saw it with Shen, right? There's not a great track record here in recent years of signing the guy mid-season or, at the end of the season. Now, on Oscar Sundqvist is a little bit different of a story, guys. We're talking about guys that you're going to sign 1-2 years. When you're talking about the kind of term we're talking about, he seems to get those done earlier. So I do think that if you don't feel that you could sign him, you also then look at the fact of where the Blues are, how they're going to do some building from within, how they are on a process, a plan that has been talked about and said very publicly. Then you move on from him as soon as you feel you have a deal that is the best deal that you can live with. And if that happens at the trade deadline or if that happens at the draft, you do it. If it happens in August, you do it. If it's November, you do it. And if it's a trade deadline, you do it. But I don't think he's one that you're just keeping to see if you could potentially make the playoffs, because this team knows it needs some pieces to not just make the playoffs, but to really go on a run.
Again, hypothetical here, Kurz, but if you were presented the opportunity to trade him to get into the top 10 of this year's draft, would you take that shot?
Based on what I have been told about this year's draft, I would not.
So I'm talking about Kurz.
Now, look, yeah. Top 10 is one thing.
Hold up,
top
Hawaiian
5
shirt.
could be another. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Top 5 could be another thing. All right? Because there's that big defenseman from Michigan State, right? Could be a hell of an impactful defenseman, top 5. But I've been told that this year's draft is deep in defensemen. If you think of where the Blues are from their prospect picking and stuff, that's the next area of need. And I think that picking 16th, picking in that middle teens, I believe that they feel that there are a decent number of prospects to answer that need. So, no, I don't see trading him just to get into the top 10 as a valuable, unless it really gets enticing to get you into the top 5.
Yeah, give me a ready-made NHL player. Give me Shea Theodore, something like that.
I'll take him too.
Yeah, that would be the route that I would go. I know Curbs prefers guys that are ready to play NHL games as opposed to prospects. We are aligned in that regard. That would be the
guys. I think
that I would prefer.
Real quick, I think people have to really study Las Vegas a lot more rather than just a quick glance and kind of, my God, they're just buying things. They've been cold-hearted in their contracts, getting rid of Nate Schmidt, right, and a few others. And they're going to have maybe the coldest of coldest hard off seasons that they've had, and how they move on from Marchessault or whatever. This could be the most pivotal off season for the Vegas Golden Knights in terms of where they start to head and others. But from a long picture, you're talking about 7 years of competitive hockey for them, where they have played the cap, they have played dress. They've said, why, like, I can pick a player. Okay, we're going to pick a player 16, and it's going to be a minimum of 2 years before he's here in all likelihood, most likely potentially 3. Then you've got the growth process starting. So when you're talking about a player really impacting your team, in most cases you're talking about a 5 to 6 year time frame from the time they're drafted, right? Well, Vegas is like, well, if I can go out and spend a little bit of money and make this trade and be cold-hearted with this trade, I can speed that whole process up. And that's exactly what they did with Tomas Hertl in this case, right? So to me, guys, I still think there's another way to skin the cat, and the Vegas Golden Knights might be showing the sports world a different way to go about it, and maybe it's adopting a little old school with what Vegas has done. But this Buffalo Sabres, Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers, when they were going through it, Montreal, like when they're going through the long droughts of playoffs, I just don't know that it's got to be that 7-8. San Jose, great example. San Jose, if San Jose's smart, San Jose may not have to go 7 years without making the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see.
Now they've already missed 5, but I'm sorry, I'm talking from the total rebuild started last year. Like when they hired Greer as their general manager, to me is when their next rebuild started, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about there.
Hey, Curbs, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks for giving us your insight today. We'll talk with you again next week.
You got it, guys. Have an awesome week. Cheers.
See you, Curbs.
It's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Appreciate his time as always. It looks like Ollie Marmol's not going to have to wait out the rain delay that's almost certainly coming for the Cardinals.
Can this dude
purpose.
just stay in the clubhouse? Why does he keep getting thrown out of games?
Oh, he definitely did that on purpose.
Yeah, delay is coming. It looks like they're getting the tarp
Why do you
out.
say that?
It is
You're
not
gonna be sitting down
on
for an
the
hour
field yet, but they're getting it ready for whenever they need it.
Is that why you wore your Hawaiian shirt today? Because it felt like Hawaiian culture outside, huh?
Yeah, in Hawaii it does rain for a little bit of time,
like
and then
this, I'm out.
Did you have to do that hand motion? It does rain. What are you gonna do?
We'll hit the rewind next. Coming up on Friday and Saturday, you'll be able to hang out with BK and Ferrario. I will be out there on Friday night with Alex. T-Bone will be there on Saturday. Max in downtown Alton, Illinois. The return of BK and Ferrario to our favorite town in this beautiful city, Alton, Illinois. Come watch the biggest rivalry in baseball. Chicago takes on St. Louis, and this is the best part. They've got complimentary food that's going to be available for you. Yeah, you go over to Max. The food's going to be provided. We'll be out there hanging out with you guys. Friday, 5 to 7. Saturday, 4 to 6. I'll be there Friday. T-Bone will be there Saturday. Alex likes money, so he'll be there Friday and Saturday. Full details available at 101ESPN.com. All right, before we get out of here today, there's going to be a rain delay at some point for the Cardinals.
Chugging through.
Kyle Gibson has thrown almost 80 pitches. He has not yet reached the end of the fourth inning. Not what you want, given the fact that they are light on their bullpen, to say the least. A big part of this is due to the defense. The Cardinals have allowed 7 runs in the series against the Baltimore Orioles. One of them has been earned. One.
I think Katie said 9 straight games where they've given up or had an error in the game, 9 straight games where they've had a home run.
The defense has been a big part of the improvement for the Cardinals in 2024, a big part of it. That cannot suddenly go away. Just because your offense is playing better, it gives you a bigger margin for error, no doubt about it. But, Alex, this has got to stop immediately. They can't keep getting these bad defensive plays from good defensive players. Arenado, Wynn, this stuff, it has to stop.
Your pitching doesn't have the opportunity to get yourself out of those jams other than Sonny Gray. Yeah, I mean, it's not. And especially the guys we're talking about that are doing it. Nolan Arenado in the outfield, you've had a couple of corner outfield blunders in the last couple of games. And then with Nolan Gorman at second base, when you give up base runners, this Cardinals pitching staff seems to crumble. And you saw it with Lance Lynn, I'm sorry. You saw it with Miles Michaelis, you saw it with Matthew Liberatore, and you just saw it with Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, their defense needs to remain elite for them to be able to throw out this pitching staff because it is so much pitch to contact. Look, Lynn's got some swing and miss, but you can't be giving batters second life against Lance Lynn. All he throws is a fastball. So the defense has to kind of right the ship, and I think it will. I think this is one of those that's just a blip on the radar, but it is something to keep an eye on.
Ollie got thrown out for good reason. Terrible call against Lars Nootbaar. It was 3 straight strikes, all of which, or not 3 straight, but 3 strikes that were called in that at-bat. None of them were strikes, and the one that ultimately got Nootbaar out is about 6 inches outside. For Alex Ferrario, who thinks that Ollie shouldn't have gotten thrown out, and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Going on vacation! Woo!